Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga. Chapter 3769. The Flame of the Human Sovereign. As for the four people who attacked, they bombarded the ground with earth-shattering force. The forest seemed to have been destroyed. Then, they sensed their surroundings and were instantly enraged. That cunning brat actually escaped. Chase him. We can't let him escape. The angry people couldn't care less as they chased after Lin Ling crazily. As for Hua Huan and the others, they were all sent flying by the explosion. They hid far away in the forest, their mouths trembling as they fled. In the open space, only Heavenly Crystal was battling the Platinum Evil Spirit. However, Lin Ling wasn't worried about the Platinum Evil Spirit because he knew that it wouldn't die so easily. Brat, if you have the skill, don't run. Which academy are you from? You're so cunning. A voice came from behind. The four of them were chasing after him. However, their speed was slightly slower than Lin Ling's. Even the strongest among them couldn't surpass the speed of 1,000 worlds. This also made Lin Ling laugh. He stopped in his tracks and quietly gave the four people behind him the middle finger. Fuck. As soon as that provocative action was made, everyone was even more furious. He had lied to them and then slipped away. Now, he was giving them the middle finger? However, anger was anger. When they chased with all their might, they couldn't catch up to Lin Ling at all. On the other hand, Lin Ling advanced with ease. Occasionally, he would use the space-time divine steel, the demonic jellyfish, and the Eye of Chaos to launch sneak attacks. However, it was only a harassment effect, not a fatal one. This meant that in the face of the stronger experts of the third hall, these methods were slowly being eliminated. Of course, the malevolent ghost jellyfish was not eliminated. It was just that its talent was known for its ghost Tao, and it was not good at fighting force with force. Moreover, although the malevolent ghost jellyfish's attacks were not fatal, the four people at the back were still bitten from time to time. They were so angry that they cursed their parents. He's only in the early stage of the martial progenitor realm. He's only able to achieve such speed by burning his life force using a secret technique. Keep chasing, he won't last long. While they were enraged, Heavenly Crystal's voice floated over and boosted their confidence. Everything was just as Lin Ling had guessed. Heaven Crystal was the most difficult to deal with. Oh, my ear! These jellyfish have bitten off my ear. Damn it! Brat, if you have the ability, fight me head-on. What kind of man are you to run away from? Although the four people chasing after Lin Ming were much more confident, they were still ambushed by the evil ghost jellyfish. Moreover, as they chased after him, they discovered that not only was Lin Ling not tired, but he was becoming more and more spirited. It didn't seem like he was burning his life force at all. In front of him, Lin Ling laughed. What kind of man was he? He shook his head mockingly. My realm is lower than any of you, and I'm only one person, while there are 5 of you. You tell me, who isn't a man? His words had undoubtedly infuriated those people out of humiliation and anger. Lin Ling, there's something following you. However, just as Lin Ling was about to destroy them one by one, the giant ghost quietly warned him. Lin Ling's complexion changed. He hurriedly went to investigate. His soul force also noticed that there was a wisp of death energy following him. This strand of death chi definitely did not belong to those 5 people. This meant that there were other experts in the vicinity. Let's get out of here. Following this, Lin Ling did not plan to stay here any longer. He erupted with all his strength and quickly passed through the forest. Not long after, an ancient ruin suddenly appeared in front of him. He saw a large number of fire god clansmen digging at the ground. The flames in their hands were extraordinary and could actually continue to corrode the earth. And under the ground, a wisp of ancient aura pervaded the air. This aura was dignified, like the might of the heavens. But what was surprising was that this aura did not have any sense of heat, as if it had no power at all. Lin Ling, there's something extraordinary hidden under the ground. At this time, the giant ghost said. Hearing this, Lin Ling quietly released his soul force. Suddenly, under the ancient ruin, he noticed a huge wisp of golden light. That wisp of golden light was as large as the universe. After Lin Ling's soul force poured in, it actually disappeared. What is this? Lin Ling could not help but ask in surprise. The flame of the human king. Beside him, the giant ghost said faintly, the first wisp of flame in the universe's void. You should have heard of a story. In a distant era, Humans did not have any flames. A saint stole the first wisp of flame in order to give birth to human civilization. This became the flame of the human king, and the person who stole the flame became the human king. Why is the flame of the human king here? Could it be? This flame is the totem of the fire god clan? Lin Ling asked again. Yes, and under the ground, there is a wisp of death aura quietly absorbing the flame of the human king. The giant ghost said again. Although Lin Ling's soul force was powerful, after entering the ground, his soul force was also absorbed by the flame of the human king. Therefore, he could not detect the changes underground. But death aura? Lin Ling instantly guessed something. This group of academy experts gathered here. Could it be that they were stealing the human king's flame? Thinking of the wood god clan's death aura, Lin Ling also guessed that someone was making a move against these ancient clans. And to be so bold, those fellows' strength was absolutely extraordinary. Giant ghost, what do we do now? Lin Ling hurriedly asked. He had no choice but to ask the giant ghost about this era of gods. Hasn't your space-time divine steel reached its limit? It just so happens that you can swallow this flame. If you can refine it, that would be even better. If you can't, then you can still use it as a treasure. That works. Won't it be very dangerous? Of course it's dangerous because the human king's flame has spiritual intelligence. However, it has already been asleep for a very, very long time. If you steal a bit of the flame, it won't be able to detect it. Unless you cause a huge fluctuation, and at that time, I'm afraid the world will collapse. Look at the death aura underground. Aren't they also carefully stealing it? Alright, then how should I steal it next? Lin Ling's interest was immediately aroused. The human king's flame is very sensitive, but it trusts the fire god clan very much. This is also the reason why the human king's flame is still asleep even though the fire god clan's people are digging underground. Presumably, the owner of the death aura forced the fire god clan to do so. Therefore, you only need to release the evil ghost jellyfish. I will teach you a set of flame sealing techniques and use the evil ghost jellyfish to steal the flame. But remember, the human king's flame is no small matter. After stealing it, don't refine it immediately. All right. Lin Ling immediately nodded, the anticipation in his heart growing stronger. After little Kunlun learned of Lin Ling's thoughts, its vine swam out and dug a big hole in the ground, carrying Lin Ling into the underground. Moreover, it knew that when Lin Ling was stealing the flame, he couldn't be disturbed. Therefore, it also used the vine forest to seal the underground area. If someone dived into the underground, they would definitely discover that the underground area had become a primeval forest. Chapter 3770. The Great Calamity had arrived. What a powerful death aura. If not for the giant ghost's reminder, I wouldn't have noticed it. The owner of this death aura must be extremely powerful. Lin Ling, that's corpse aura. The owner must be a 10,000-year-old corpse. It's really a corpse. Yes. After a conversation, Lin Ling's soul force quietly spread out. He then discovered that the death aura had also swam in through the hole. It thought that Lin Ling hadn't noticed it, but Lin Ling had been waiting for a long time. Therefore, just as it entered the ground, it immediately discovered that a figure was already looking at it coldly. It sensed that something was wrong and immediately wanted to escape. This death aura was really terrifying. It was much more powerful than Lin Ling's ghost jellyfish's surveillance method. However, how could Lin Ling let it escape? The stairs of wisdom shrouded and locked the death aura in its own world. Then, Lin Ling was not afraid that it would escape. Countless evil spirit jellyfish immediately tore at it and finally swallowed this death aura. We've been discovered. This Lin Ling is really cautious. On the other side, a white-haired youth coldly spat out a sentence. At the same time, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Then, his eyes also looked at the sky. What was surprising was that he was actually lying in the coffin. Therefore, his eyes were also looking at the coffin lid. He was guessing what Lin Ling wanted to do. But soon, he guessed that Lin Ling wanted to use the underground to escape. On the other side, after Lin Ling had completely resolved his worries, he also hid in the vine forest. One by one, the ghost jellyfish swam out like fish. Then, they quietly approached the underground of the ruins. The flame of the human monarch, golden light dazzling, divine might awe-inspiring. Lin Ling seemed to have seen a wise old man, and also seemed to have seen the first emperor of the human race in the era of gods. As they continued to approach, Lin Ling sensed that the golden flame was extremely huge. It was like a ball of light. They were also breathing. Lin Ling, be careful. In order to be absolutely safe, you must not awaken the human monarch's flame. The giant ghost's voice also sounded in Lin Ling's mind. Lin Ling nodded. This little ghost brought out by the 8 gods' heavenly palace was really powerful. Moreover, Lin Ling suddenly remembered that in the ancient coffin in the Platinum Hall, he saw a huge ancient corpse, and the ancient corpse's face was exactly the same as the giant ghost's. The only difference was that one was huge and the other was small. Thinking about how the giant ghost seemed to know everything, Lin Ling suddenly had a terrifying thought. Could it be that the giant ghost was the 8 gods? According to legend, the 8 gods had several faces. Good, evil, greed, benevolence, righteousness, and so on. What are you thinking? Focus. However, while Lin Ling was thinking, the giant ghost's voice suddenly interrupted him. Only then did Lin Ling realize that one of the jellyfish he controlled was actually greedy like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. It wanted to swallow a big chunk of the human monarch's flame in one gulp. In the end, it was burned and disappeared in the human monarch's flame. The human monarch's flame is the Flame King. All flames are under its control and will bow down to it, including all things in the world. This is a divine embryo. At this time the giant ghost said, "What is a divine embryo?" Lin Ling couldn't help but be curious. A divine embryo is a divine embryo. For example, your primal chaos bloodline, dragon god bloodline, and wraith jellyfish are all divine embryos. The space-time divine steel is not. Therefore, this is also the reason why the space-time divine steel cannot fuse with it. However, the human monarch's flame can. If you obtain this flame, your strength will undoubtedly increase greatly. All right. I will try my best to steal as much as possible. Yes. Lin Ling excitedly nodded. In his soul force, countless wraith jellyfish leaped on the surface of the human monarch's flame. Some were burned to death, and some swallowed the strand of human monarch's flame. Then, they sneaked back along the ground. In the end, the giant ghost sealed that strand of flame and disappeared into Lin Ling's body. In Lin Ling's body, a strand of golden flame gradually appeared. It was very small, even smaller than a strand of hair. But as more and more wraith jellyfish returned, this flame also slowly grew bigger. Of course, this process was very slow. Moreover, along the way, a large number of wraith jellyfish were burned to nothingness. Obviously, if the wraith jellyfish swallowed too much of the human monarch's flame, it would exceed their tolerance and they would be incinerated. However, at the same time as stealing, Lin Ling was also surprised to find that after every wraith jellyfish returned, they would release a large amount of energy. This energy was absorbed by his 6 dantian, causing his dantian to slowly grow. In addition to the death chi that he had continuously swallowed before, this also caused his dantian to grow faster and faster. A strange feeling suddenly rose in Lin Ling's heart. Could it be that he was going to break through again? At this moment, he was hiding underground to steal fire. On top of the ruins, the people of the fire god tribe were still digging the earth. These humans are really hateful. They actually let us get so close to the totem. Cut the crap. Do your job properly. Right now, the patriarch's life is at stake. If we don't do as they say, the patriarch will die. Moreover, we are only on top of the ruins and have not affected the totem. Cut the crap. Speak softly and do your job properly. Cut the crap. Those people of the fire god tribe whispered. It could be seen that they were being threatened. Otherwise, they would never help the humans. Moreover, they also had a bottom line. If they offended the totem, even if their entire tribe was exterminated, they would resolutely resist. Fortunately, those humans had promised them and did not offend their totem, so they just followed the orders of the humans. Who told you to speak? Do your job properly. Are you rebelling? Cut the crap. At this moment, a thunder whip lashed down, causing one of them to suck in a breath of cold air. It turned out that there were also humans here watching over them and not letting them act rashly. Senior brother Chin, did you see a person flying over here? At this moment, a voice could be heard from afar. Following this, 4 figures appeared above the ruins in the blink of an eye. They were the 4 people who had chased after Lin Ling humans? Are you kidding me? Other than us, who else is here? Someone in the ruins immediately replied with a smile. When he saw the appearance of the four people, he could not help but feel astonished. What happened to the four of you? Why are you in such a sorry state? Your ears are missing and even your arms are broken. Shut up. Damn it, that cunning kid. If I see him, I'll definitely tear him into pieces. Shut up. Upon hearing this, the four people became furious. Previously, they had called him Grandpa and had their ears and arms bitten off. However, when they were enraged, that cunning kid had escaped. How could they possibly swallow their anger? The half-martial god realm expert was the most furious. Since he had reached the half-martial god realm, he had never been humiliated by a junior at the early-stage martial progenitor realm. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. However, at this moment, an oppressive aura suddenly appeared and lingered in the sky, making it difficult for them to breathe. What is this? Hee. Isn't this the ancestors' tribulation? Someone is quite lucky and has finally broken through. Haha, here, let me congratulate you in advance. Chapter 3771. Tribulation Success. The four of them were stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. As for the people in the ruins, they also smiled happily. It's extremely difficult to break through to the martial ancestor realm. Now that you're finally going to break through, you've entered a new world. Congratulations! Congratulations! After saying that, they looked at each other and laughed. However, as they laughed, they felt that something was wrong. That was because the people present did not seem to show any signs of breaking through. Moreover, breaking through was a joyous occasion. However, this place was the most unsuitable for breaking through because it could easily awaken the human king's flame. At that time they would be in vain. Who's breaking through? Senior brother Chin, is it someone from your side? Nonsense. I'm the one who wants to ask if it's someone from your side. Nonsense. Could it be the Fire God tribe? Nonsense. No. Nonsense. Damn it. Quickly find that person and stop him. Otherwise, things will be troublesome. Nonsense. Everyone became anxious because the ancestors' tribulation in the sky was becoming more and more terrifying, as if it was a great tribulation of the world. The people of the Fire God tribe were also shocked. They could not care less and fled in all directions. Apparently, they also realized that something big was about to happen. Could it be him? Nonsense. Suddenly, the eyes of the expert whose ear was bitten off narrowed. Why are you still hesitating at this time? Spit it out. Nonsense. The half-step martial god expert was extremely anxious and slapped the expert. The expert said hesitantly, "It's that guy from before." Nonsense. As soon as he said that, the ruins suddenly became silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. It's him again, that troublemaker. Nonsense. Which school is he from? I'm so angry. He's only an early-stage martial ancestor. Why is he so powerful? Nonsense. Stop talking nonsense. Find him immediately and stop him from breaking through. Nonsense. Then, the people did not have time to be angry and began to search around. However, they did not know that Lin Ling was smiling bitterly under the ground. He was about to break through the tribulation. The ancestors' tribulation came at the right time. Lin Ling, you're almost there. Hang in there. Yes. However, the giant ghost didn't show any signs of viciousness. Instead, it seemed to be a little anxious. Obviously, he also knew that if the human monarch's flame was awakened, it would cause a huge commotion. Lin Ling nodded solemnly when he heard this. He knew as well that if he were to give up now, then all his previous efforts would be wasted. So, he had to persist and allow the human king's flame he stole from within his body to grow even larger. Rumble. At this time, a great world tribulation finally came crashing down from the sky. Motherfucker. It's one thing to cross a tribulation, but it's actually such a great tribulation. Looking at the doomsday-like sky, everyone in the ruins was so angry that their teeth fell out. Did that guy who was going through the tribulation think that things weren't big enough? So he directly sent out a great tribulation. Quick, quick, quick. Find him immediately. Over there, that guy is actually hiding underground. Stop him at once. Everyone madly rushed towards Lin Ling's direction, but at this time, countless vines rushed out from the ground, forming an ancient forest that blocked these people from approaching. There were many of them and they had powerful talents, so it was difficult for little Kunlun to kill them. However, little Kunlun didn't need to kill them. It only needed to stop them. Boom! Almost at the same time, the great world tribulation finally came crashing down. It was as if the heavens and earth were cleaning up the world. Any heaven-defying disciple would be killed. Below the ground, Lin Ling was hit by the great world tribulation. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body seemed to be splitting apart. After all, he didn't resist at all and allowed the great world tribulation to come crashing down. Hang in there! The giant ghost became ferocious at this moment. As for Lin Ling, he also became ferocious. The second great world tribulation came, and he gritted his teeth and withstood it. However, all of his bones instantly cracked apart. A wave of purifying power was purifying everything in his body. Of course, his physical strength had greatly increased, especially the dragon pearl not long ago that greatly increased the talent of the sky dragon and dragon god. Otherwise, in the past, he would have been killed without any resistance. Shoo! Shoo! More and more ghoul jellyfish returned. Hang in there! At this moment, the giant ghost also became anxious. Boom! The third great world tribulation came. Lin Ling seemed to be turning to ashes, but at this moment, the last ghoul jellyfish swallowed a wisp of the human king's flame and finally came back rapidly along the ground. His speed was even faster than usual, as if he was a fish. Looking at the sky again, the fourth wave of the calamity of the great world had arrived. This wave of calamity would probably claim Lin Ling's life. Lin Ling, that's enough! The giant ghost could not help but shout. It also knew that Lin Ling was in danger. However, Lin Ling remained motionless. He sat cross-legged like an immovable wisdom king. Crazy! The giant ghost was shocked by Lin Ling's craziness. Now, he was not even resisting. Rumble! The great tribulation finally arrived. It blasted the ground, and the huge forest of Little Kunlun was torn apart. As for the surrounding experts, they were all blown apart. And the great tribulation rushed towards Lin Ling along the ground. But at this moment, the last ghoul jellyfish rushed into Lin Ling's body as if it did not care about its life. Thank you, everyone. Next, let us welcome the great tribulation. Once the ghoul jellyfish disappeared, Lin Ling finally stood up. Like a sleeping dragon waking up, all kinds of power erupted. Talent fusion. 6 stanchions fusion. Tyrannical sword. True legacy dark sword. Space-time divine steel. Rumble. The ground seemed to have been overturned. Looking from the ruins, the soil was tumbling. It was horrifying. However, this was not the end. Next was the 5th Great World Tribulation, the 6th and the 7th. All the surrounding experts were numb. They looked ahead angrily. A few weak-willed people even cried. That guy was really undergoing the tribulation here. Meanwhile, Little Kunlun had recovered too, but it stared ahead worriedly. Gradually, the tribulation of the great world finally disappeared. The ruins returned to peace. At that instant, a figure slowly floated into the air. A blue robe and a giant sword. Who else could it be but Lin Ling? Furthermore, his strength had improved tremendously. His 6 stanchions had all reached the 4th layer martial progenitor realm. The deathly chi that he had devoured at the Kaiyuan River had been completely refined. Damn it, it's you. I knew it was you. Seeing the calm young man, everyone was infuriated. It was indeed Lin Ling. This guy was detestable. As expected of a troublemaker. Die! There was someone who hated Lin Ling the most, and he actually attacked directly. He transformed into a giant ape covered in blood-red hair and charged towards Lin Ling. 7th grade ultimate desolated body. It was the bloodline of the mighty god. However, the talent was limited. 7th grade was most likely the limit. That being said, after reaching the limit, the power of the talent would be unleashed, making it stronger and more ferocious. Chapter 3772. The Human King had awakened. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? What made me fearful earlier was merely that strand of death chi. Seeing this, Lin Ling also slowly pulled out the tyrannical song sword. When the mountain-like giant ape pounced at him, he slashed down from above. This sword strike contained the might of his 6 stanchions and 80% of his ancestral power. If Lin Ling's sword not long ago represented 1, Then now it represented 6. Whoosh! With a single slash, the crimson ape was sliced in half, and it was killed before it could even get close to Lin Ling. Da Wei. Everyone was stunned. They had never thought that the troublemaker would suddenly become so powerful. Good. I have to say, you've really surprised me. When others break through, their strength will double, but I'm afraid it's 10 times. However, do you really think you can escape from us? Let me tell you, this time, you won't be able to escape. The half-step martial god with a broken arm said coldly. He couldn't hold it in any longer. He was a half-step martial god and stood above everyone else. However, he had been humiliated by that junior again and again. His arm was broken, and he still couldn't take revenge. If he didn't kill that junior, he wouldn't be human. Lin Ling smiled and was just about to say something when his expression changed. That was because the giant ghost was telling him that things had gotten troublesome. Sorry, I don't have time to fight with you today. Let's fight next time. Little Kunlun, come back. Without further ado, Lin Ling fused his talent and summoned Little Kunlun. Then he rushed back the way he came. You bastard, run away again. The half-martial god realm expert almost vomited blood when he saw Lin Ling leaving as if he was a fool. If you're not convinced, you can try to catch me. Of course, I think that you'll also run away next. However, Lin Ling's indifferent voice drifted over from afar. Catch up with Lin Ling? Not to mention the current Lin Ling, they might not even be able to catch up to the previous Lin Ling. However, what did Lin Ling mean when he said that they were going to escape as well? Rumble! At this moment, the wrath of an emperor permeated the air. Golden light shone resplendently, as if a king of men was enraged. It was as if the ancestors of mankind had awakened. The flame of the human king has awakened. How could this be? How could this be? It's over. It's over. My flame of the human king. Shut up. That brat was transcending his tribulation here. Unless the human monarch's flame is a pig, how could it possibly wake up? This person has done a lot of harm. The various experts were both alarmed and furious. Speaking of Lin Ling, all of them began to curse angrily. That fellow was indeed a troublemaker. Wang. But at this time, a golden ripple spread out in all directions with the ruins as the center. Everywhere it passed, everything turned golden. Then, it turned into nothingness and merged into the light. Terrifying. It was as if there was nothing in the world that could resist the golden light. No, it should be golden flames. The various experts were stunned. Then, their bodies turned into golden flames and surged forward, finally disappearing without a trace. Dead. In a face-to-face confrontation, they were completely annihilated. Only 2 of them managed to escape. Fortunately, the 2 of them reacted quickly. When the ruins had just begun to shake, they had immediately retreated. Otherwise, their outcome would have been the same. They hid in a distant place and looked ahead in disbelief. Only 2 words came out of their mouths. It's over, it's over. It's over. They knew that the young master's plan, which had been prepared for many years, had been completely destroyed. The deathly aura under the ground had probably also been destroyed. The awakened human monarch's flame was indeed terrifying. Scram. Go. Then they sensed a consciousness in their minds. It was the human monarch's flame. At that moment, they hurriedly ran away, leaving this place of trouble. Wang. The formless voice was still spreading out, as if telling everyone that anyone who approached the ruins would be killed without mercy. And this was also the might of the human monarch. What happened? Why has the human monarch's flame awakened? You guys can't do anything right. The 2 of them ran all the way, but they met someone along the way. It was Tianjing. At that moment, he had also sensed the changes in the human monarch's flame. He was so angry that his face was distorted. It's not our fault. It's that kid from before. The 2 of them said sullenly. Him again? I asked the 4 of you to kill him. In the end, not only did you not succeed, he ruined our plans. Furthermore, all of you are dead, leaving only the 2 of you? Tianjing was stunned. He, who had always been calm, was now enraged. That martial ancestor junior was simply a troublemaker. At that moment, he did not know how to explain this to the young master. He's really a troublemaker. He dragged so many people down with him even before he died. He even caused our efforts to be in vain. Did you know that the young master had prepared for 100 years to steal the deathly aura? When the deathly aura finally approached the human monarch's flame, he did not manage to steal anything. Then, 100 years of hard work was all for naught. Tianjing clenched his fists and trembled continuously. Senior brother Tianjing, this is not what we wanted. Furthermore, that kid is not dead. He escaped again. One of them said with a bitter smile. What? Tianjing felt as if his heart had been cut by a knife. It was very painful. Furthermore, he successfully broke through. If it were not for the calamity caused by his breakthrough, the human monarch's flame would never have awakened. Chapter 3773. The Angry Lin Ling. That young man's name was Wanyan Bu Pa. Not only was he extremely strong, but he was also the young master of the place of eternal slumber. His father was the second strongest cultivator in the place of eternal slumber. The place of eternal rest was one of the vicious 10 of the 9 states. Thus, he was also one of the leaders of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. Everyone else had to give him face. This time, the Heaven-Crushing Alliance had taken control of the demonic primordial forest with the help of Wanyan Bupo's father. They had used the roiling aura of death to plunder the cultivation resources of the various tribes, and they had almost even stolen the human king's flame. However, at the critical moment, Lin Ling had ruined their plans. Without a doubt, the Heaven-Crushing Alliance would definitely kill Lin Ling. As for Tianjing, she roughly explained what had happened. However, just as he finished speaking, Wanyan Bupo also opened his mouth. I already knew. I even know who that person is. Who is it? Speaking of that person, Tianjing's eyes were filled with killing intent. His name is Lin Ling. Lin Ling. Perhaps you haven't heard of this name before, because he's not a member of the Divine Three Halls. He's a newcomer. However, I'm sure you've heard of the Transcendence Tower, the E-Garden, and the emergence of a student from the Blizzard Academy. It's him? Heaven Crystal finally reacted. Although Lin Ling already had a bit of fame in the 36th college, the strongest experts of the 3rd hall rarely returned to the college, so they only had a rough idea. Bastard, it's actually him. Is he courting death? Heaven Crystal clearly did not care about Lin Ling at all. Don't underestimate him. Firstly, he broke my death goo and blocked my supervision. It's not bad to have this ability. Secondly, this person was known as the Immortal in the 9 prefectures. It was a miracle that he didn't die time and time again. Third, this person defeated Duan Wuhan. It is said that his talent is not much weaker than Duan Wuhan's. Wanyan Bupo said coldly. Humph, that's because you haven't met me yet. Sky Crystal could not accept this. Really? Given another 100 years, do you have the confidence to defeat Duan Wuhan? Wanyan Bupo retorted. Tianjing didn't dare to answer. Duan Wuhan had awakened the Duan family's #1 bloodline. Although his current realm was low, his potential couldn't be underestimated. 100 years later, he still didn't have the confidence to defeat Duan Wuhan. Moreover, this lad is very cunning. After spoiling our plan, I think he has already left the demon forest. Wanyan Bupo said coldly. Although his words were simple, his eyes were filled with killing intent. Clearly, he couldn't swallow the fact that Lin Ling had ruined his plans. If there's a chance, kill him, including all his family and friends. I want to put goo worms in them. Wanyan Bupo said word by word, then walked back to the coffin. He also knew that not long ago at the Kai Yuan River, Lin Ling had killed several experts from the land of eternal slumber. One of them was the Blood Silkworm King, an expert that the land of eternal slumber had focused on nurturing. You're just Lin Ling. Trash who doesn't even have a ranking on the divine list. Tianjing also left, but the killing intent in his eyes didn't diminish. He knew that Wanyan Bupo was an expert ranked 300th on the divine list. How could Lin Ling be a match for Wanyan Bupo? Unfortunately, Lin Ling had escaped from their heaven-crushing alliance. Otherwise, if Lin Ling was still in the demon forest, they would make Lin Ling know how to write the word death. At this moment, Lin Ling was running madly along the forest. He was extremely excited. According to the giant ghost, he only needed to prepare a few materials, and he would be able to refine the human king's flame. This was a talent that wasn't much weaker than the dragon god's bloodline. In fact, it was slightly stronger. If he could successfully refine it, wouldn't Lin Ling's strength increase greatly? He returned to the place where he had barbecued meat, and prepared to take away the platinum evil spirit. When he arrived, Lin Ling immediately discovered that there was a pool of platinum mud on the ground. Moreover, it was quietly merging. Tianjing is really powerful. Even the god of assassins couldn't defeat the platinum evil spirit, but he could. Lin Ling couldn't help but become serious. The experts of the three divine halls' strongest circle were indeed very powerful. The experts that martial god Wen Tian had summoned were so, and so were the experts that he saw today. His green Buddhist flames are just the perfect counter to the platinum evil spirit. Yes. However, the giant ghost beside him spoke. Lin Ling also agreed with this point. Although the platinum evil spirit didn't have any intelligence, it was still a martial god. How could it be defeated so easily? However, Lin Ling still had a feeling that the top experts on the divine list stairway to heaven would definitely have defeated martial gods when they were at the half-step martial god realm. There was always someone better than you. Although the martial god realm was very powerful, there were always exceptions. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes suddenly lit up as he silently waited for the platinum evil spirit to revive. He immediately rushed forward. There was a forest in front of him, but it was silent. When Lin Ling entered it, his eyes suddenly shuddered. He saw a large number of people kneeling on the ground, their faces facing the same direction. However, they were all dead. Boom! Lin Ling's heart instantly exploded. This group of people was Hua Huan and the others. They must have been killed by Tianjing. Bastard! For some reason, Lin Ling's heart was filled with anger. Although Hua Huan and Lin Ling had met by chance, Lin Ling had a good impression of him, especially when he knew that Lin Ling's barbecued meat was delicious. He had even told Lin Ling, "Master, please make the meat delicious." This guy was a glutton. However, Hua Huan didn't get to eat the best meal. "It's because of me," Lin Ling said word by word, his voice turning hoarse. He felt that the wind beside his ears was a little harsh at this moment, as if a knife had landed on his heart. He also felt that the sunlight in the sky was a little blinding at this moment, as if a sword had landed on his heart. That was because Hua Huan reminded him of the stone gods. They were simple and kind and only wanted to live here forever. However, humans invaded their home for their own benefits and casually slaughtered their lives. If Hua Huan wasn't by his side, Tianjing might not have killed him. Therefore, Lin Ling knew that Tianjing was venting his anger on Hua Huan. "It's not your fault. Even without you, they would still kill the fire gods if they wanted to." Beside him, the giant ghost suddenly said. However, Lin Ling shook his head and looked deeply at the group of kneeling people. From their faces, Lin Ling saw pain. They must have been burned by the green flames before they died. However, they persevered. They knew that they were going to die, so they all knelt in the direction of the ruins. That was because they also wanted to return to their hometown. Bang! Lin Ling's fist suddenly clenched. A murderous aura emanated from his body. "Lin Ling, don't be rash. You've already obtained the human monarch's flame. Leaving this place is still the priority. Moreover, aren't you looking for people? If you waste time here, you might miss out on those people." Chapter 3774. Punch after punch. "Me. I can't do it." However, Lin Ling spoke in a hoarse voice. "You can say that I'm stupid or impulsive, but that's how I, Lin Ling, am. Even though I've only met Hua Huan once, I've already treated him as a friend. I'm responsible for their deaths. I want to avenge them and bring them back." If An Yuer knew about this, she would agree with me. If I ran away because of this, she would look down on me even more. Lin Ling angrily shouted the last sentence. His eyes were blood red. His straight body was filled with murderous intent. Seeing this, the giant ghost trembled slightly and stopped trying to persuade him. It couldn't understand why Lin Ling would choose to stay in the demon forest to fight for several people he didn't even know. This sounded simple, but the people Lin Ling was facing were all very powerful. It was possible that Lin Ling would die in the demon forest. However, it believed that Lin Ling had definitely thought of all this. The reason why he continued to fight was because he was Lin Ling. Without saying a word, Lin Ling piled up the people on the ground. Then, a big fire spread out and cremated everyone. Lin Ling kept their ashes. He promised that he would personally bring them back to their hometown. However, just as he finished packing the ashes, two voices suddenly rang out behind him. Hee hee, it was really easy for me to find you. Run, why aren't you running anymore? Is it painful to see those people from the fire god race die? The more painful it is, the better. Let me tell you, it was us who killed them. Not only the fire god tribe, but also the wood god and the stone god tribe. Hee hee, I heard that the queen of the wood god clan is very beautiful. Moreover, the entire wood god clan is full of beauties. We will destroy their forest and make the queen lose her power. After that, we will have fun with her. The sound of footsteps rang out at the same time. The two people who had been chasing Lin Ling had appeared. One of them was a half-martial god with a broken arm, while the other was a martial progenitor. At this moment, they were laughing very proudly, very proudly. This was because they had finally seen Lin Ling's angry expression. What? You don't like it? I'm going to say that the beauties of the wood god tribe are all wearing very revealing clothing. My heart is racing just looking at them. Our heaven-crushing alliance is planning to build a base here and use them as slaves. There's also the stone god clan. They're very good at building houses and forging weapons. Let them be slaves. As for the fire god clan, they'll just burn the fire. Ha ha ha. The more the two of them talked, the more satisfied they became. It was as if they had vented all their frustrations from not long ago. However, they didn't see that Lin Ling was putting the ashes into the cups one by one. His movements were neither fast nor slow, steady and powerful. However, his eyes were filled with dense killing intent. There was actually an illusion of a wisp of golden flame, as if it was the flame of the human monarch. The two of them were completely unaware that they were already dead. At this moment, they had jumped into Lin Ling's eyes. If he didn't kill them, Lin Ling would also let Hua Huan and the others down. No wonder the wood god tribe always says that humans are greedy and shameless. Now, I understand a little. There are always some vermin among us humans. Finally, Lin Ling stood up. His body started to turn pitch black. The forest suddenly became oppressive. The two of them suddenly felt their hearts palpitate. They didn't know why, but they had a premonition that something ominous was about to happen. However, the two of them were still confident. They instantly laughed and said, "Heh, you're talking about yourself, aren't you?" However, as soon as they finished speaking, a frightening gust of wind erupted. Lin Ling appeared in front of the person who had spoken. He was tall and mighty, like a demonic god. Pang! He threw a punch. It was fast, incredibly fast. The power of that punch had reached an unprecedented limit. Ka ka ka. The person who had spoken arrogantly earlier had his teeth smashed and his body flew out. However, as he was sent flying, he saw Lin Ling chasing after him with his hands behind his back. Bang! His heart exploded. He immediately gathered all his realm force and attacked Lin Ling. However, he was only a peak martial progenitor. Currently, he was no match for Lin Ling. Lin Ling threw a punch forward. Following a bang, the bones of the person's right arm were shattered. They were all shattered, causing him to cry from the pain. How are you so powerful? He let out a furious roar and yelled at the other half-martial god realm expert. Save me! Pang! While speaking, his left arm was shattered by Lin Ling's punch. Pain. Unbearable pain. He wanted to resist and attack, but he couldn't see Lin Ling's figure at all. As for his attack, it couldn't harm Lin Ling at all. Pang! His left leg was shattered, causing the bones to shrink to the size of a grain of rice. Following this, his chest was shattered. His neck. His head. His entire body was in extreme pain, as if countless ants were biting him. Most terrifyingly, he was still alive and suffering from the pain. He finally knew the price he had to pay for mocking those who had died, for mocking Lin Ling. He was extremely regretful. Meanwhile, the half-martial god realm expert was startled too. He had been chasing after Lin Ling, but he couldn't catch up to him. He could only watch his ally being tortured as his bones were shattered and he screamed in pain. It was as if he was screaming in his heart. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He finally knew how terrifying Lin Ling was. Lin Ling had not made his move previously. Go on, why did you stop? Aren't you going to destroy the wood god tribe? Don't you want the stone god tribe to be your slaves? Lin Ling continued to punch the man like a sandbag. In the end, the man's body exploded and only his soul was left. Most terrifyingly, his soul was still alive even though his body was destroyed. However, would he let him go just because his soul was left? Based on what they had done to the demonic forest, Lin Ling wouldn't be able to vent his anger if he didn't destroy his soul. Pang! Lin Ling wrapped his fist with his soul power and punched the man's soul. Mercy, stop hitting me! The man's soul was screaming in pain. Pang! However, he only received 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches in return. He had experienced Lin Ling's wrath. He could only say that he was extremely unlucky to have met Lin Ling at this time. Pang pang pang! In the end, the man's soul exploded. He didn't explode with 1 punch, but slowly. This was more terrifying than the torture in the underworld. Not far away, the half-martial god realm expert who had lost his arm immediately ran away with a pale face. Pang! However, he had only taken a few steps when he collided with a wall and was sent flying. He took a closer look and saw that it was the platinum evil spirit. At this moment, he was scared, panicked, terrified, and even regretted his actions. He shouldn't have come here. He shouldn't have chased after Lin Ling. There was no way he could escape now. Humans aren't all dirty. As for those vermin, I, Lin Ling, will surely clean them up if I see them. Chapter 3775. He was scared to death. Don't come over, don't come over. That expert was clearly having a mental breakdown. First, he was trapped. Secondly, he had seen another person being tortured to death with his own eyes. How could he not be afraid? Even though Lin Ling was immortal, in his heart, Lin Ling was like a demon. Rumble! He crazily attacked Lin Ling, causing dust to fly everywhere. However, before the dust could settle, the devil-like figure walked out once again. Its entire body was pitch black, and its limbs were like dragon claws. Behind it were countless jellyfish tentacles, as if it had come from the underworld. To that expert, this was a nightmare. Bang! He once again unleashed a powerful attack. This time, he was finally going all out. An all-shot towards Lin Ling. Lin Ling's shoulder shook and he stopped in his tracks. Looking carefully, a huge bloody hole appeared on Lin Ling's shoulder, but what was surprising was that there was no blood flowing out. Furthermore, he was recovering quickly. Lin Ling took another step forward. You! That person's body trembled. Even though he was the attacker, he was the one panicking. In fact, he was getting more and more panicked. Get away from me! He attacked again. However, it could not stop Lin Ling's footsteps at all. 2 more evil spirits appeared behind Lin Ling. They were the black gold evil spirits. In the open space, Lin Ling was like the king of evil spirits, leading the 3 evil spirits to encircle this expert step by step. Ah! That expert suddenly roared and then stopped moving. He wasn't even breathing. He was actually scared to death. Not far away, the giant ghost's eyes flickered. A half-step martial god had been scared to death? This was indeed ironic. If this news were to spread to the 36 academies, no one would believe it. Lin Ling glanced at him and shook his head. Then, he left with the evil spirit. However, his eyes were also looking into the distance, and the killing intent in his eyes grew even stronger. I don't care who you are, but you are unlucky to have offended me. A cold voice drifted out from the ancient forest. Perhaps even the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance didn't expect that they would provoke an evil spirit. In the following days, Lin Ling hid in the demonic essence forest and continuously stabilized his cultivation base. At the same time, he started to slaughter the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. At this moment, in the east of the Fire God tribe's relic, a dozen people from the Fire God tribe were moving forward cautiously. However, they were unlucky, and they encountered members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. Suddenly, several figures blocked their path. The leader of the group was a half-step to martial god. At this moment, he was looking at the group with a smile. His eyes were filled with a strong killing intent. Fire God tribe, well done. We asked you to cooperate with us, yet you've ruined the efforts of our Heaven-Crushing Alliance over the years. Tell me, how should we deal with you? These experts were not weak. Some of them were standing on large trees, while others were leaning against huge rocks. They looked calm and relaxed, but they were like a storm hidden under the calm sea. And these dozen over Fire God clan's people clearly sneaked out quietly. Their goal this time was to contact the Gold God tribe and the Water God tribe to fight against this mysterious evil spirit alliance. However, they were discovered. Moreover, they had violated the treaty between the evil spirits and the Fire God alliance. One had to know that the evil spirits had appeared here a long time ago. They had once said that as long as the Fire God tribe did not leave the surrounding area, they would not attack them. In the beginning, the Fire God tribe had also agreed to this treaty. However, as time passed, they realized that something was wrong. Especially after the awakening of the human king's flame, this feeling of uneasiness became even stronger. This was because the evil spirit's goal seemed to be to destroy their homeland. Thus, they planned to inform the other tribes to fight against the enemy together. Lord, we. A burly middle-aged man bowed and said. This person had a head of fiery red hair that was like raging flames. There were also dazzling flames at the joints of his body. It looked like he had a high status in the Fire God tribe. No need to explain. I know you guys went to the Gold God tribe, and they didn't agree to your request, right? However, the young man in the lead sneered. His words caused the hearts of all the members of the Fire God tribe to tremble. They had actually been discovered? In reality, you guys don't know. All of your actions are being controlled by Lord Evil Spirits. You want to betray us? I have to say, this is a very foolish action. The young man in the lead said with a smile. The members of the Fire God tribe knew that things were troublesome. The treaty had been violated, and coupled with the matter of the human king's flame, this evil spirit alliance was probably going to kill them. Honorable human king, your fortune is boundless. You used fire to save the world. This humble subject is willing to serve you forever. I hope you will bestow me with power and expel all the evil spirits. Sigh. At this moment, the person in the lead suddenly murmured to himself. A mysterious power surged out from his body. However, the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance smiled. Someone slashed out with his sword and cut off the man's arm. That prayer was also interrupted. Obviously, the Heaven-Crushing Alliance also knew that the members of the Fire God tribe were also somewhat capable. Especially when their prayers were successful, they could create a powerful fire element power out of thin air. It was said that this power came from the human king's flame. It was also said that the members of the Fire God tribe were all transformed by the human king's flame. Now, however, their prayers had been interrupted. Final struggle. The members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance didn't waste any more words. They immediately attacked. However, at this moment, the sound of heavy footsteps traveled over from the forest. It was as if a few giants were walking over. Everyone frowned. Then, the trees parted, and a few burly figures appeared. They were all wearing large cloaks, and it was as if they were evil spirits. In front of the three evil spirits was a young man wearing a blue and white robe. It was as if he were the owner of the evil spirits. There was a cold smile on his face, and he looked calmly at the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. Merely a smile was enough to make the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance feel that something was wrong. The members of the Fire God tribe were the same. Who are you? The young man in the lead suddenly asked. I'm very interested in your alliance. I wonder if you guys know this person? Yes. However, the newcomer didn't answer the question. Instead, he used his realm essence to draw a portrait. It's senior brother Tianjing. Looking at the portrait, someone exclaimed in surprise. Looks like I've found the right person. Very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 people in total. The young man suddenly nodded, causing the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance to be puzzled. What did this person mean? However, the young man's next sentence made them completely understand. Leave one person alive, and kill the rest. This sentence was like the judgment of death. The members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance were stunned. Then, they started to sneer coldly. Kill them all? Did this person know what he was doing? The elite in the lead was just about to speak. Pang. However, a boom instantly traveled over from beside him. Blood gushed into the air, and the head of an elite beside him was instantly crushed. Chapter 3776. A ghost-rearing fellow. What a fast speed. They actually couldn't detect it. What a powerful force. Killing a peak martial ancestor was as easy as flipping his hand. At this moment, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. This scene was simply too terrifying. Bang! However, the horror did not end there. Next to him, Another person's chest was pierced through. Following that, two malevolent spirits whose bodies looked like black metal began to crazily snatch that person's food. At this moment, everyone finally understood what the blue-robed young man meant. Split up. Without any hesitation, the half-step martial god realm expert roared furiously and was the first to flee from here. However, the golden-white evil spirit was the first to chase after him. This scared him so much that his snot was about to spurt out. With his strength, he naturally noticed how terrifying this evil spirit was. In a short period of time, the empty space had fallen silent. The heaven-crushing alliance, which had been insufferably arrogant just a moment ago, was now fleeing like a pack of stray dogs. The blue-robed young man sneered and suddenly disappeared on the spot. He also chased after one of them. Only the people of the fire god tribe were left stunned on the spot. What had happened just now was like a dream. On the other side, in a dense forest, a figure shot forward in a frenzy. His face was pale and his forehead was full of sweat, dripping to the ground like raindrops. As for his feet, ice appeared, allowing him to glide forward. His speed was incomparably fast. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the innate ability he had used disappeared. He appeared beside a large tree, panting heavily. "I've finally escaped. Who is that ghost-rearing fellow?" he said with lingering fear. "A guy who raises ghosts?" But at this moment, the trees behind him rustled, and a tall figure appeared in front of him. "They've caught up?" That person's jaw almost dropped to the ground. His pupils constricted, and without wasting any more words, he immediately tried to escape. However, as soon as he moved, countless wraith jellyfish wrapped around him, accompanied by numerous flying swords. In just a few breaths of time, this person was defeated. "Who is the leader of your heaven-crushing alliance?" The newcomer was none other than Lin Ling. He stepped forward and said coldly, "Also, what is your goal?" "Oh, let me go, I'll talk. That person was being crazily bitten by the wraith jellyfish. With his strength against Lin Ling, he was obviously unable to withstand a single blow. "It's Wanyan Shiji. He is the second leader of the 9 prefectures Vicious 10, a corpse king. He went to the Ancient Origin mountain range. The one in the Ancient Origin forest is his son, Wanyan Bupo, an expert of the E-Garden's E-generation." E-Garden? Enemies really do meet on a narrow road. Moreover, the place of eternal rest was an ancient power with dense evil energy. The dignified E-Garden actually wanted this kind of student? However, what kind of strength did he have? Senior, he is a half-step martial god and possesses an 8th-grade ultimate desolate body. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Currently, although his strength had greatly improved and he could defeat half-step martial gods, they were all grade 6 talents. Moreover, the most powerful half-step martial god he had seen was Tian Jing. This guy was a grade 7 talent, but they had never fought before. However, Wanyan Bupo was slightly stronger than Sky Crystal. "Then what is your purpose?" Lin Ling asked again. "Devouring the entire Ancient Origin forest with Death Qi in exchange for power, greatly increasing Wanyan Shiji's strength. In exchange, we can also obtain large amounts of rewards, such as the Wood God Tribe's myriad spirit water, the Fire God Tribe's human king flame, and so on." "That's really generous, thank you." Lin Ling finally knew the heaven-crushing alliance's goal. However, these people were really despicable. They were willing to sacrifice the entire Ancient Origin forest for him. "I've already told you, you should let me go." Seeing Lin Ling nod, that person begged for mercy. "If it was in the past, I would have let you go. Unfortunately now you can only die. Remember, I'm Lin Ling from the Wind Snow Academy. Let me remind you one last time, I didn't promise to let you go." Lin Ling said sarcastically, turned around and left. "You lied to me." That person's body trembled and he roared angrily. Unfortunately, Lin Ling had already left. Instead, the endless evil spirits and jellyfish swallowed him, turning him into a dried corpse. Obviously, the evil spirits had encountered evil spirits, but the evil spirits seemed to be even more ferocious. At this moment, the people of the Fire God tribe were still in a daze. However, at this moment, the forest parted, and then a burly figure walked out. He was holding a thigh in his hand, as if he was eating a spicy strip. Most importantly, he had a smile on his face, which gave people a very strange feeling. Seeing this, a woman of the fire god tribe screamed in fright. Shwa shwa. However, at this moment, footsteps were heard again. Next, two evil spirits entered their sight, and they were actually fighting over the head. This. All the people of the fire god tribe turned pale with fright. It's those evil spirits from before. Someone recognized the person who had died in the hands of the evil spirits through his clothes. This gave the people of the fire god tribe a fright. The arrogant evil spirits from before were all dead now. No, it should have been eaten by someone. This result was undoubtedly beyond everyone's imagination. Because in the eyes of the fire god tribe, those evil spirits were omnipotent. Eat. At this moment, the white evil spirit suddenly looked over, causing the people of the fire god tribe to tremble. Don't come over. Retreat. They all quietly retreated, but the three evil spirits had already surrounded them from 3 angles. Have no choice but to be rude. Save. At this moment, a voice that was like a life-saving straw finally sounded. A young man in a blue and white robe quietly appeared and walked over step by step. Hero. Save. Benefactor. Save. Seeing this scene, the people of the fire god tribe almost knelt down. In fact, these evil spirits were too terrifying. If it wasn't for this guy who raised these evil spirits, they didn't know what the outcome would be. After the blue-robed young man appeared, the 3 evil spirits stopped in their tracks and were extremely obedient. For the people of the fire god clan, this scene was even more magical. Sir, thank you for saving our lives. Save. The middle-aged man in the lead immediately bowed to Lin Ling, but when he looked up, he saw that there was another evil spirit beside Lin Ling, but its figure was smaller, only the size of a fist. Of course, although this evil spirit was small, its expression was still ferocious. It's not that I saved them. It's just that I have a grudge with them. By the way, do you know Hua Huan? Yes. Lin Ling walked over with a smile and asked. Yes, what about him? What? The middle-aged man in the lead suddenly said. Lin Ling did not say anything. Instead, he took out a large number of bone ash cups and gently placed them on the ground. This is? Seeing this, everyone's heart trembled, and they looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. Lin Ling also nodded, confirming their thoughts. Huan. Everyone guessed something, and the middle-aged man in the lead directly knelt down, tears flowing out of his eyes. This made Lin Ling realize that this middle-aged man might be Hua Huan's father. Chapter 3777. Subduing the Fire God Tribe. However, the middle-aged man raised his head after crying for a while, and said, "This isn't your fault. It's those evil spirits' fault." It was clear that the middle-aged man was already used to this. Upon seeing this, Lin Ling sighed softly in his mind. Are you interested in forming an alliance to eradicate the heaven-crushing alliance? Yes. The middle-aged man roared instinctively. His son had been killed, so how could he not want to seek revenge? Yes. The others also raised their heads in anger. They had been oppressed by the heaven-crushing alliance for so many years, so how could they not want to resist? Sir, my name is Hua Ba, and I'm Hua Huan's father. We all want to resist the evil spirits, but the Fire God tribe alone isn't enough. Moreover, our tribe leader is currently injured, and without him, we're even less able to resist the evil spirits. However, the middle-aged man quickly calmed down, and spoke solemnly. Upon hearing this, Lin Ling smiled faintly, and said, "Those aren't evil spirits. They're an alliance formed by powerful beings, and their goal is to destroy the entire demonic forest." He revealed the information he knew, and everyone's expressions changed drastically. It was clear that they didn't know about this either. I know that your tribe leader is indeed unable to resist the heaven-crushing alliance by himself, but what if the 3 tribes form an alliance? Lin Ling suggested after allowing them to digest this information. This was because he had already formed this plan after learning about the heaven-crushing alliance. Could it be that you're talking about the Wood God tribe and the Stone God tribe? There's no way they'll ally with us. The Wood God tribe is arrogant, and the Stone God tribe is stubborn. They don't walk the same path as us, and we haven't discussed matters together for 10,000 years. The middle-aged man said with a shake of his head. Just because they didn't before doesn't mean they won't in the future. How can we know if we don't try anything? However, Lin Ling spoke with determination. His words caused the members of the Fire God tribe to falter. They didn't think that Lin Ling would be so stubborn. "Now, take me to see your tribe leader," Lin Ling said. "All right." Originally, meeting the patriarch of the Fire God race was a major event and humans were not qualified to go. However, Lin Ling brought back the ashes of Fire Huan, so they all chose to believe in Lin Ling. Lin Ling's plan was also very simple. He wanted to ally with the three tribes to oppose the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. In reality, the current Heaven-Crushing Alliance wasn't worthy of his fear. What he was wary of was Wanyan Bupo's father, Wanyan Shiji. This ancient elite was the second most powerful being in the resting ground of heroic spirits. He was most likely a top-tier elite among martial gods. Therefore, if not for allying with the three great races, Lin Ling could not resist at all. As he followed the group, Lin Ling's eyes flickered. The giant ghost had warned him that the death chi had appeared again. Clearly, it was here to supervise him, or perhaps it was here to supervise the people from the Fire God tribe. "Hee, my name is Lin Ling. Because you killed a guy called Hua Huan, it won't be long before I come to kill you. If you have the guts, don't run." Lin Ling instantly stopped in his tracks and sneered at the sky. Then, the steps of wisdom appeared and locked onto the wisp of death chi. Then, he had the evil ghost jellyfish devour it. Lin Ling knew that Wanyan Bupo must have heard what he said. "What?" In the ancient coffin, Wanyan Bupo's eyes narrowed. "Lin Ling, it was Lin Ling." He didn't leave, and it seemed like he was declaring war on him. Moreover, he said that he had killed a guy called Hua Huan, so he wanted to take revenge. Anger. Wanyan Bupo was undoubtedly enraged. This was because Lin Ling had ruined his plans. He hadn't even found Lin Ling for revenge, but Lin Ling had taken the initiative to come knocking on his door. How dare a junior of the martial ancestor realm act so arrogantly? At one point, Wanyan Bupo even thought that Lin Ling was bluffing. In fact, he had already escaped from the demonic forest. At that moment, Lin Ling was following the people from the Fire God tribe. He could guess that Wanyan Bupo didn't believe him. However, the latter had underestimated Lin Ling. After a long time, an ancient volcano appeared in front of them. The volcano was constantly erupting, and the scorching heat was blowing in their faces. Magma was pouring down like rain. What was surprising was that the Fire God tribe actually lived at the bottom of the volcano. The temperature was so high that there were no plants around. It was as if they were in purgatory. When they returned, Huaba and the others relaxed and smiled. "It's finally not that cold." Cold. Lin Ling was speechless. "Sir, do you need help?" At that moment, a lady behind Huaba looked at Lin Ling and asked. She was afraid that Lin Ling wouldn't be able to withstand the temperature. "Let's forget about this temperature." Lin Ling shook his head and smiled faintly. His divine devil body wasn't afraid of this temperature at all. Even if he entered the volcano, he wouldn't care. "Huaba, why did you bring a human here?" At that moment, a large number of people rushed out of the volcano. All of them had fiery red hair, and their auras were extremely fierce. An old man with a walking stick frowned as he looked at Huaba and the others. "Elder, he's not a bad person. He's here to discuss something with the patriarch." Huaba immediately said, "Humph, this is the place where the Fire God tribe lives. How can we allow outsiders to come and go as they wish? Human get lost." However, the old man stubbornly shook his head. Chapter 3778. Worship. Everyone was furious at first, but they were also rendered speechless by Lin Ling's words. Had their Fire God tribe lost a lot of people? Had they been oppressed for a short period of time? They should have had a happy home, but now, they could only be forced to live in the volcano and were not allowed to come out. How could the old man not know this? However, he was scolded by Lin Ling. He could not take this lying down. The old man was about to say his seniority. However, Lin Ling blocked his mouth again. "Don't you and I. Let me ask you, the human king's flame has been awakened. Where are you? Your totems are being violated, and you are actually indifferent? Also, the demon forest is about to be destroyed. Why are you still hiding in this broken mountain? Are you waiting for death?" Lin Ling's last sentence was like thunder. Everyone's body trembled, and their eyes turned red. The old man was so angry that his face was distorted. "What qualifications do you have to talk about us? Men capture him. First Elder. Yes. However, everyone frowned and did not act blindly without thinking. Although they were not on the same path as humans, they could not deny that Lin Ling was right. Therefore they did not want to kill that young man. Kill him. If the patriarch is not here, I will be the patriarch of the Fire God tribe. Yes. When the first elder saw that no one listened to him, he felt that his position was being challenged. The most important thing was that the person who challenged him was actually a brat who was still wet behind the ears. He didn't believe that the Fire God race would listen to him more or that humans' words more. However, there were exceptions to everything. The Fire God tribe might not listen to the human. Because the roar in Lin Ling's heart was getting stronger and stronger. He simply controlled the evil ghost jellyfish to float out with a strand of hair-sized flame in its mouth. The moment this flame came out, an invisible pressure spread out. Everyone from the Fire God tribe was stunned, and the next moment, they all knelt down. The scene was incomparably spectacular. Even that huge volcano seemed to have stopped spewing lava at this moment. The world was silent. Because that wisp of flame was a totem, the totem of the Fire God race. This was also the legend of their Fire God race for thousands of years. Let him come to me. No, I will come to him myself. At this moment, a solemn voice suddenly roared from within the volcano. A moment later, a bulky middle-aged man walked out with a few people supporting him. The middle-aged man had an extraordinary aura. He was also a martial god realm expert. His hair was a meter long, reaching the ground. However, it was quite dim at the moment. And the fire path runes on his body were actually more numerous than the others. Patriarch! Seeing this, everyone shouted loudly. The great elder's entire body was trembling as he respectfully shouted. Then he loudly said, Patriarch, don't be fooled. He is a fake. Definitely a fake. However, the clan leader didn't say anything. He walked in front of the great elder and looked down at him, causing the great elder's expression to become one of terror. In reality, how could the great elder not know that the flames that Lin Ling controlled were real? This was because he could also sense the might that was radiating from Lin Ling's body. It was as if his ancestor had arrived. He was only unwilling to admit it because he couldn't swallow his pride. However, being looked at like this by the clan leader, he finally calmed down. Then, he knelt on the ground and crawled toward Lin Ling. Lord Totem, please spare my life. I was blind to not recognize Mount Tai. As he knelt, he kowtowed. There was no trace of his previous domineering attitude. Meanwhile, Lin Ling stood silently like a guardian. When the great elder crawled in front of him, he stepped on the great elder's shoulder and forced him to the ground. Despicable wretch! A disdainful voice drifted out of Lin Ling's mouth. He, Lin Ling, had done his best to eradicate the heaven-crushing alliance, yet this old geezer had opposed him time and time again. Moreover, if what this old geezer said was right and reasonable, then he, Lin Ling, would be convinced. But fucking hell, this old geezer was just spouting nonsense. To put it bluntly, he still couldn't swallow his pride. Being stepped on by Lin Ling, the great elder's whole body started to tremble. How could he dare to resist? He lay on the ground, not daring to utter a single word. Totem! At this moment, the clan leader also knelt down, and spoke respectfully. Clan leader of the Fire God tribe, do you know your sins? However, Lin Ling shouted in a dignified voice. His voice also caused the clan leader's whole body to tremble. He continued to kowtow. I know my sins, I know my sins. He didn't know where Lin Ling came from, but Lin Ling possessed the flame of the human monarch, so how could he not be respectful? Moreover, he suddenly guessed that the flame of the human monarch had awakened some time ago. Could it be that the flame of the human monarch had transformed into this young man? The more he thought about it, the more certain he became. Of course, the others were also letting their imaginations run wild. In the end they also thought so. Therefore they kowtowed even harder. Totem, the Fire God tribe failed to protect you and woke you up. The clan leader kowtowed 3 more times before speaking in a trembling voice. Lin Ling was stunned at first. Then he knew that these people were overthinking. However, since he wanted to borrow the power of the Fire God tribe, he had to admit it. The evil aura is going to destroy the entire demonic forest, but you all are hiding in the volcano. Are you all digging your own graves in advance? Lin Ling said coldly. The Fire God tribe knows our sins. The Fire God tribe knows our sins. The clan leader kowtowed even harder. Seeing this, Lin Ling also knew when to stop. He said indifferently, "Forget it. I'm here today because I plan to summon the 3 tribes to fight against the evil spirit alliance together." Is it possible? The clan leader raised his head in disbelief. Summon the 3 tribes? The 3 tribes hadn't been in contact for 10,000 years. What do you think? Lin Ling suddenly asked. The clan leader immediately nodded. If the totem is here, it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. It was obvious that he was extremely convinced by Lin Ling. If Lin Ling asked him to die, he wouldn't even frown. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Lin Ling finally nodded. He then took a step forward and said, "Okay, that's about it. Now, let me take a look at your injuries." "Yes." Hearing this, the clan leader forced a smile and said, "I've been injured for many years. I was injured by an evil spirit. The one who attacked me was the strongest evil spirit. So, after so many years, I've gotten used to it." However, just as he finished speaking, a large number of evil spirit jellyfish floated out of Lin Ling's body. "Don't resist," Lin Ling said indifferently. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Lord Totem had an evil spirit on him? However, they quickly comforted themselves. Lord Totem was omnipotent. It wasn't difficult for him to imitate an evil spirit. The clan leader was also in a daze, but he didn't dare to resist. He just smiled and said, "Lord Totem is thoughtful. However, this death aura is wrapped around my fire heart, so it's very difficult to get rid of it, unless..." Before he finished speaking, evil spirit jellyfish swam out one by one, carrying with them wisps of death aura. This made the clan leader feel as if he had been struck by lightning. There was only one sentence in his heart. Lord Totem is omnipotent. Chapter 3779. He unleashed his full power. How could he know that this deathly aura was exactly the same as the deathly aura under the trees of the wood god tribe? In fact, it was even weaker than the deathly aura under the forest. The fire god tribe couldn't do anything about it, but Lin Ling could. "Give it a try," Lin Ling said calmly. The tribe leader immediately sensed his surroundings and discovered that the deathly aura around his fire heart had completely disappeared. He couldn't help but roar at the sky. After being trapped by the deathly aura for so long, he was finally free. No one had experienced this feeling before, and they had no idea how torturous it was. Because every night, the deathly aura would stir and devour everything in his body. That kind of pain was the most terrifying torment in the world. "Thank you, Lord Totem." Then the clan leader kowtowed to Lin Ling again, and the ground cracked from the kowtow. "Wait for my command." Lin Ling smiled. He didn't expect to subdue the fire god tribe so easily. "Farewell, Lord Totem." Seeing Lin Ling leave, everyone from the fire god tribe kowtowed again. He was the first human to receive such a grand gesture. Only after Lin Ling left did the fire god tribe erupt into an uproar. Everyone was overjoyed. "This is great. Lord Totem has come to save us." "Lord Totem, I actually saw Lord Totem with my own eyes." "Hwaba, good job, you actually found Lord Totem." After a series of excited conversations, everyone looked at Hwaba, and this made him blush. That was because he wasn't the one who found Lin Ling. Moreover, Lin Ling was actually Lord Totem? This caused him to be confused. He only thought of Lord Totem in his mind. Wasn't he the guy who raised ghosts? After Lin Ling left the fire god tribe, he immediately headed toward the stone god tribe. Previously, he had questioned the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance, and he had a rough idea of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance's strength. That was why he wanted to gather the 3 tribes to work together. The most difficult fire god tribe had been dealt with, and the remaining stone god tribe and wood god tribe were much simpler. Especially the wood god tribe, he probably only needed to say a few words. And if the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance knew that Lin Ling didn't leave, and instead gathered the 3 tribes, they would probably explode with anger. That was because Lin Ling not only destroyed their efforts, but he also planned to uproot them. He was practically like a hornet's nest, and there would be endless trouble after being poked. Night fell unknowingly. Lin Ling walked quickly along the forest, but at this time, footsteps came from the dense forest in front of him, and there were also sounds of complacent conversation. "Lin Ling, Lin, Lin Ling, Lin Lin Ling, a warning. Lin Ling, Lin, Lin." This time, the young master is completely enraged. Lin Ling drew out his sword and said with a hollow laugh while pointing it at the crowd. Mid-stage martial progenitor realm? Vengeance? Are you kidding me? Vengeance my ass. The experts were startled, before they burst out laughing. However, their smiles were extremely cold. Bang! However, Lin Ling also made his move. He went all out. He was facing a few half-martial god realm experts, and quite a number of peak martial progenitors. It was obviously going to be a fierce battle. If Lin Ling did not want to test his limits, he would not even take part in the battle. It was also the reason why the crowd assumed that Lin Ling was out of his mind. It was already impressive for an intermediate martial progenitor to defeat a half-martial god, let alone fighting against a sea of cultivators. A terrifying force swept across the place, as if it was going to destroy the heavens and earth. The area within 10,000 li had turned into a forbidden area. Even 1,000 years later, the place would be completely barren. It was destined to be a sleepless night. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Countless inherited underworld swords flew out, forming a total of 9,999 swords. On top of that, the progenitor force had reached 90%. According to the rumors, when the 9,999 flying swords were fully activated, they would form the strongest underworld sword, which contained a hint of godly force. As such, martial god Qilin treated the swords as precious treasures. Following the swords were countless demonic jellyfish. He's no ordinary intermediate martial progenitor. His talent is most likely above the 8th grade. Lin Ling, I remember now. He's Lin Ling from the Snow Wind Institute, the first person to reach the 9th floor of the Ethereal Tower. He even defeated Duan Wuheng from the Duan clan. I heard from some senior brothers that his talents can be stacked. Chapter 3780. The Wood God clan was in danger. After a long time, the mighty momentum gradually calmed down. At dawn, everything returned to tranquility, as if nothing had happened. Only the thick smell of blood quietly drifted out. At this moment, thousands of miles away, huge black wolves quietly appeared. They were obviously attracted by the fresh blood. These were primordial devil wolves, the most terrifying demonic beasts in the primordial devil forest. However, just as they were about to take the risk and enter the forbidden area, suddenly, a figure slowly walked out from the rubble in front of them. This person carried a big sword on his back and wore a red robe. His face was full of fatigue and there were even many wounds on his body. Some of the wounds were even dripping with blood, but they were quickly recovering. However, it was not because of the red robe, but because the robe was dyed red with blood. It's daybreak. The man suddenly stopped in his tracks and smiled faintly. With just one sentence, the surrounding demonic elemental wolves began to tremble. They even forgot to run away and lay on the ground, not daring to move an inch. They felt that this person was simply a god of death. After that person, 3 more tall figures appeared, and a large number of dragon demons slowly walked past those beasts and finally disappeared into the distance. None of the primal devil wolves dared to move. They finally dared to move when the sound in the distance had completely disappeared. A wild wolf was rather bold. It mustered up its courage and quietly probed into the open space. Immediately, it saw that the place was filled with blood and rotten flesh, as if it was a calamity of the world. The most frightening thing was that all kinds of forces were still spreading in the open space, making this wild wolf feel as if it had come to the remains of the most intense battle in the post-god era. Bang! The primordial devil wolf remained motionless. It was scared to death. At this moment, by a small stream, Lin Ling changed his clothes and took a bath. Then, he slowly got up and sat down cross-legged. Looking at the bloody holes on his body, he shook his head helplessly. After a night of battle, he had completely killed all the experts in the forest. This allowed Lin Ling to confirm that as long as his opponent was not a grade 7 genius, he would be able to kill any half-martial god realm cultivator. From this, it could be seen just how much power the heavenly dragon bone had brought him. In a one-on-one battle, Lin Ling was confident that he could kill a half-step to martial god with a 7th grade ultimate wild body. Oh right, giant ghost. How do I refine the human monarch's flame? After resting for a while, Lin Ling looked to the side and said, Fruit of good, fruit of fortune, fruit of fate, these 3 fruits are enough. Because these fruits have received the blessings of the gods of heaven and earth, they are items of great fortune. With their protection, you can refine the human king's flame," the giant ghost said. Hearing that, Lin Ling was a little excited. The flame path had accompanied him since he was young. He was truly reluctant to give it up. It was just that the space-time divine steel had always been sufficient, so he hadn't looked for a more powerful flame seed. And now, he had obtained the human king's first flame. Lin Ling's flame Dao could also continue to be passed down. "You want to kill Sky Crystal?" the giant ghost asked. Lin Ling immediately nodded his head. A 7th grade ultimate wild body, in addition to the fact that his cultivation is much higher than yours. If you want to kill him, you will need to use your full strength. Therefore, you should heal your injuries first, the giant ghost reminded him. Lin Ling was aware of this too. He immediately took out a large number of treasures and began to heal his injuries. These treasures were taken from the experts. Many of them were extremely rare. Of course, the one that allowed Lin Ling to recover rapidly was the 10,000 spirits water. At the same time, Lin Ling checked his cultivation and discovered that his 4th-level martial progenitor realm had stabilized. The energy that he obtained from devouring the experts with the help of the malevolent spirit jellyfish would definitely not be weak. The warm-up battle is over. Shao Kunlun, giant ghost, the real battle is about to begin. Lin Ling smiled and closed his eyes slightly. He exclaimed in his heart. The trip to the demonic forest had greatly improved his strength. His confidence in the battle 3 years later was undoubtedly greater. Of course, the battle last night seemed simple. In fact, Lin Ling had suffered a few fatal blows. Most importantly, Lin Ling was in a rush and had wanted to kill them all in one night. Otherwise, if Lin Ling had defeated them one by one, he would not have suffered such serious injuries. While Lin Ling was recovering, on the other side, the soil under the ancient tombstone continued to rumble as a coffin appeared. Following this, a figure slowly walked out from it. It was Wanyan Bupo. However, his expression was extremely unpleasant. This was because he had wanted to supervise Lin Ling, but had failed once again. Lin Ling was the only person in the demonic forest who was not under his supervision. On the other hand, he was ranked 30th on the stairway of the divine list. Lin Ling was only ranked 400th. There was such a big gap between them, but Lin Ling was not under his control. He could not figure it out at all. "Young master, bad news. Senior brother Li and the rest who went to the Wood God tribe last night are all dead." At that instant, an expert suddenly rushed over and said with a bow, "What? There are many half-step to martial gods among them. They are ranked 400th on the divine ranking and below, and they are all dead." Wanyan Bupo's already unpleasant expression was now filled with murderous intent. "They are all dead. There is not even a blade of grass growing within a 10,000-mile radius." That expert said solemnly, "It is Lin Ling. It is definitely Lin Ling." Wanyan Bupo frowned and suddenly thought of something. When the expert heard this, he was shocked. He then frowned and said, "This is impossible. Although Lin Ling defeated Duan Wuhan, it was only a short time ago. He should not have such strength in such a short period of time. Moreover, we have checked and found that all of them were killed on the spot. It was only one night. It is impossible for Lin Ling to do it alone." Wanyan Bupo placed his hands behind his back and looked coldly into the distance. He said, "Don't forget that Lin Ling defeated Duan Wuhan. He has a set of mysterious super skills that can superimpose his talents. This is the reason why he is challenging the world god's 3 halls. However, this is too unreal. It is also because Lin Ling has broken through during this period of time." "What?" When the expert heard Wanyan Bupo's analysis, his heart trembled violently. This demonic genius who is more powerful than Duan Wuhan is really terrifying. He has broken through in such a short period of time, and his combat strength can even kill a half-step to martial god. Inform Sky Crystal and Big Ghost to be careful, especially Big Ghost. He likes beauties, so don't go alone. It's best if he goes with Sky Crystal. As long as we capture Her Majesty, the wood gods will be under our control." Wanyan Bupo knew that the bigger picture was more important. They had to deal with the wood god tribe first. However, Degue has already disappeared. Only senior brother Tianjing brought his men to the wood god tribe. Senior brother Degue said that the death chi has already spread to the roots of the forest. He does not need to do anything to the queen. Tianjing alone can take care of her. That is why he disappeared. Bastard. This guy must have gone to play with women. He can't do anything right. Chapter 3781. Demonic Essence Wolf. He had a feeling that something was about to happen to Big Ghost. This was because if Big Ghost and Tianjing worked together, they wouldn't even be afraid of martial gods. However, if they separated, it would be hard to say. Go and tell Tianjing that there's been a change in the situation. Tell him to come back immediately. Wanyan Bupo issued an order. He had a feeling that things were becoming more and more troublesome. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he had to plan everything carefully. After all, the 3 tribes of the demonic forest couldn't be underestimated. It was just that they weren't united. Moreover, all the tribe leaders had been controlled by the aura of death, and their strength had been greatly reduced. Moreover, this aura of death had been left behind by his father, so how could the tribe leaders resist it? However, his father had told him before going to the ancient Yuan mountain range that he couldn't allow the 3 tribes to work together. Otherwise, all their efforts would be for naught. However, he didn't know that Lin Ling was already heading toward the Wood God tribe at this moment. This was because he knew that the Heaven-Crushing Alliance was about to attack the Wood God tribe. Lin Ling couldn't help but sigh as he walked along the path he had come from. He was now going back on the same path. However, Lin Ling wouldn't be satisfied if he didn't destroy the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. Moreover, he knew that Tianjing had appeared in the Wood God tribe this time. Thus, he was going to take revenge. He was full of confidence in his revenge. After walking for a whole day, the scent of the Wood God tribe finally appeared ahead. However, compared to last time, the Wood God tribe was much quieter this time. As he continued forward, he suddenly heard whispers in front of him. This time, His Majesty has asked us to find the Stone God tribe. I'm afraid something big is about to happen. That's right. The evil spirits are invading. The aura of death that disappeared not long ago has reappeared. Moreover, it's even stronger than before. His Majesty has said that if we can't invite the Stone God tribe, a great calamity will befall our Wood God tribe. Sigh, the Stone God tribe is a bunch of stubborn old geezers. How can it be so easy to invite them? These voices were somewhat familiar, and Lin Ling's eyes involuntarily lit up. He immediately parted the branches in front of him, and saw a clearing. There were more than a dozen people in the open space. Some of them were holding bows and arrows while others were holding short swords. They were the people of the Wood God clan. The reason why Lin Ling sought them out was because he wanted to know more about the Wood God clan. It's you. The appearance of Lin Ling had undoubtedly caused the expressions of those people to change slightly. After that, their expressions gradually became disdainful. Because they all knew Lin Ling. More importantly, they had the protector of the Wood God clan, the Grand Elder, and even Shengna. Why are you here? Didn't you leave the demon forest? After recovering from her shock, the Great Elder smiled and spoke. Her attitude towards Lin Ling was clearly not as overbearing as before. Because on that day, Her Majesty the Queen had personally come to see Lin Ling off. This made her realize that Lin Ling was definitely not simple. However, the young man was very unhappy. He was originally a protector, but because of Lin Ling, he had been stripped of his status. If it wasn't for the urgency of this matter, his status as a protector would have been stripped. And all of this was because of Lin Ling. He couldn't understand how a mere human could be valued by Her Majesty the Queen. Of course, Shengna also thought the same. She didn't even want to take another look at Lin Ling. Lin Ling naturally noticed their expressions. However, he didn't have time to pay attention to these small fries. Grand Elder, what happened to the Wood God clan? Lin Ling asked. In reply to my lord, nothing happened to the Wood God clan. Everything is fine for now. The Grand Elder immediately replied with a smile. This also caused Lin Ling to relax. It seemed that the Heaven-Crushing Alliance hadn't made a move against the Wood God Alliance yet. He was just about to ask again, but at this moment, Shengna had already spoken. What does the Wood God clan's matter have to do with you? Also, even if something really happened to the Wood God clan, what can you do to help? Don't think that I don't know the strength of you humans. You're only a martial progenitor. You don't even have a half-step martial god. You overestimate yourself. Her words were sharp and harsh. Not only her, but the others also looked at Lin Ling with disdain. Shengna, don't be rude. However, the Grand Elder shouted angrily at them. Her Majesty the Queen had already treated Linling as a guest, but these people thought that the Wood God clan was arrogant and actually looked down on Linling. If you don't want to say it, then I won't say it. Shengna was obviously very afraid of the Grand Elder, so she pursed her lips. However, she suddenly looked at the Guardian and said with a smile, "The Guardian is still the most powerful. Last time, you killed a human peak martial progenitor with a single arrow. Clean and crisp, a fatal arrow." "What, a single arrow? If you say that the Guardian defeated a peak martial progenitor, we would believe it. However, to kill a peak martial progenitor with a single arrow, that's not very possible." The others were instantly shocked. Because of Her Majesty's order, this matter hasn't been announced. However, you can ask the Guardian. Shengna instantly smiled proudly. There was a hint of admiration in her eyes as she looked at the young man. Of course, she also secretly glanced at Linling. Her eyes were filled with mockery. This kid's strength was very ordinary, and not only that, but his temper was also very bad. Since you've said it, then I'll admit it. That's indeed the case. At that instant, the Guardian calmly nodded his head. Buzz buzz. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. As they had said, defeating a peak martial progenitor was not too shocking. However, killing a peak martial progenitor with a single arrow was absolutely shocking. Following this, they uttered sounds of admiration. However, their loud voices had no doubt interrupted Linling's inquiry, causing Linling to shake his head helplessly. If it weren't for the Grand Elder and the Queen, he would have scolded them. After all, the calamity of the Wood God tribe was approaching, yet they still had the mood to talk about other things. As he was about to inquire further, the howls of wolves could be heard coming from ahead. Demonic elemental wolves. These were the strongest beasts in the demonic forest, capable of posing a threat to the other tribes. Everyone's expression changed slightly. Most importantly, the number of these demonic elemental wolves could reach over 100,000 at a time. The previous guardian of the Wood God tribe had been killed by these wolves. As there were too many of them, even a half-martial god would have to dodge them. Whoosh! At that instant, the guardian fired an arrow forward, which penetrated countless trees with a menacing aura. However, to everyone's surprise, after the arrow was fired, the howls of the wolves disappeared as if they had all left. It was obvious that the demonic elemental wolves were intimidated by the arrow. As expected of the guardian, Shengna immediately let out an excited smile. The others wore looks of admiration as well. They knew that if it were not for the threat of the arrow, the demonic elemental wolves would have arrived and wreaked havoc. If the demonic elemental wolves had seen blood, they would have gone even crazier, resulting in a calamity. Luckily, the Guardian had stopped them from doing so. The Wolf King had retreated after seeing the extraordinary power of the arrow. Chapter 3782. The Person Who Will Kill You. However, Shengna didn't think so much. She said sarcastically, "Some people still want to protect the Wood God tribe. If it weren't for the Guardian's arrow, he would have become a piece of meat in the mouth of a wolf." Although she didn't mention names, everyone knew that she was talking about Linling. Instantly, many people laughed mockingly, as if Linling had taken advantage of them. Forget it. It's nothing. Anyway, he's Her Majesty's guest, so let's protect him. The protector spoke with a strong sense of righteousness, as if he was rewarding Linling. Seeing this, Linling couldn't be bothered to say anything. Only he knew that the primal demon wolves weren't scared away by the arrow. The real reason was the platinum evil spirit. Moreover, Linling remembered correctly that when he killed the elites of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance a few days ago, he also saw a large pack of wolves. However, when the wolves saw him, they could only kneel and tremble. Those wolves seemed to be the primal demon wolves. Of course, he couldn't be bothered to explain such a thing. However, his silence was naturally seen as a guilty conscience by Shengna, and she laughed even more proudly. Linling asked the Great Elder again, "Then why did you leave the Wood God tribe this time?" The Great Elder didn't want to say at first, but she felt that since Linling was valued by Her Majesty, he should be trustworthy. Immediately, she said, "Under Her Majesty's orders, we went to find the Stone God and discuss the matter of an alliance. After all, Her Majesty thinks that the primal demon forest will definitely become a land of death if we don't form an alliance now that a calamity has arrived. Indeed. Lin Ling nodded. Then he said, Her Majesty is indeed thoughtful. Currently, I've already contacted the Fire God tribe. As long as I ask, they'll agree to the alliance. As for the Stone God tribe, although I haven't gone, I'm confident that I can persuade them. When the time comes, we can also fight against the evil spirits. Hearing this, the great elder's eyes narrowed. Shang Na, the guardian, and the others couldn't help but laugh loudly. This human was too good at bragging. He actually said that the Fire God race would agree to the alliance. Could it be that he thought of himself as a god? Lord Guardian, I don't understand why Her Majesty likes this human. Humans are greedy and hypocritical. They have been bragging from the beginning and are still bragging now. Sheng Na couldn't help but ask. Madam Sheng Na, now that you mention it, I just remembered that some people do often brag. They can't stop bragging the first time we meet them. They don't respect our elders at all. The others immediately recalled their first encounter with Lin Ling. Then they laughed even louder. The guardian kept shaking his head. There was only a sympathetic light in his eyes, as if he was sympathizing with Lin Ling. All of you shut up. At this moment, the first elder could no longer stand it and shouted angrily. Great elder, we are only speaking the truth. Hearing this, Sheng Na felt extremely wronged. This time, the great elder couldn't help but stand up. Although she also thought that Lin Ling was bragging, Shang Na and the others weren't giving Lin Ling any face at all. Haha, I've finally found you. Little Shang Na, I'm here. However, at this moment, a loud roar suddenly sounded. Then, the earth rumbled and the trees in front of them collapsed. Dust was tumbling and a strong murderous aura covered the sky. Among them, there were endless howls of wolves. The primordial demon wolves were back. Everyone stood up with a solemn expression and their pupils were trembling. Bang bang bang. The surrounding trees all collapsed. Following that, countless pitch-black, 2-meter-tall primal demon wolves appeared and surrounded the group. Roar roar roar. The number of primordial demon wolves was endless. They all lowered their front legs and drooled from their cold teeth as they growled. Of course, this was secondary. The most important thing was that among the wolves, a burly man with long hair and a valiant figure rode on the primordial demon wolf king and walked out of the pack of wolves. Seeing that person, Sheng Na's face changed because she knew that man. He was from the wicked spirits and had come to the Wood God clan before. He was also eyeing her covetously. Of course, she was not the only one who was shocked. In fact, everyone in the Wood God clan was shocked. Even the Lord Guardian, who had previously intimidated the pack of wolves with his arrow, was trembling at this moment. This was because there were too many primordial demon wolves. If he was surrounded by primordial demon wolves, even he was not confident that he could escape alive. Not to mention, there was a powerful wicked spirit there. That wicked spirit was a half-step to the martial god realm. He was no match for him at all. Most importantly, this wicked spirit could summon primordial demon wolves. What a terrifying technique. Little Sheng Na, I've come especially for you. Our Lord Wicked Spirit has arranged a task for me. However, I can't forget about you. I searched the entire Wood God clan but couldn't find you. So, I came especially for you. The valiant man stared at Sheng Na from head to toe. His gaze seemed to see through her entire body. Sheng Na immediately felt a chill run down her spine. Only she knew what would happen if she fell into the man's hands. It was said that the man had killed 3 primordial demon elephants in one night. If she fell into the man's hands, she would rather die. Lord Guardian. At this moment, she no longer had her previous arrogance. She was like a girl who was about to be bullied. The only thing she could rely on was the Lord Guardian. However, the Lord Guardian was even more afraid than she was. However, because of his position as the Lord Guardian, he braced himself and said, Wicked Spirit, you're so daring. Be careful that you'll be punished by the gods. He spoke without any confidence. His voice was even trembling. Scram. The valiant man sneered disdainfully. A powerful aura surged out like a wave. Thud thud thud. The Lord Guardian took 3 steps back. His handsome face was pale with fright. Oh well. Almost at the same time, all the primordial demon wolves howled. Their bestial instincts soared into the sky. Bang. These howls scared the Lord Guardian so much that he fell to the ground. The smell of urine wafted out from his pants. Was this really the Lord Guardian who had intimidated the pack of wolves with a single arrow? Everyone felt that this was unreal. Their hearts were like dead ashes. Xueqi sat weakly on the ground. It was as if the mental pillar in her heart had collapsed. Tears flowed out of her eyes. Those were tears of helplessness. Haha, little beauty. You're my woman. I'll take good care of you even if you run to the ends of the earth. Looking at Xueqi's appearance, the valiant man's bestial instincts were aroused. He could not help but laugh. However, before his laughter died down, a puzzled voice suddenly rang out in the quiet space. You're the Great Ghost? The Great Ghost with Tianjing. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. He had been looking for Tianjing and the Great Ghost because these two were the strongest experts of the Wood God clan. I'm the Great Ghost. Who are you? The Great Ghost sneered and looked for the person who had spoken. I'm the one who's going to kill you. After being acknowledged, Lin Ling finally revealed his killing intent and leaped out. Awoo! Chapter 3783. Imagination and Reality. Lord Lin Ling. The Grand Elder shouted worriedly. Lin Ling dared to provoke the primordial demon wolves. Was he courting death? Get lost. However, Lin Ling turned a blind eye to the Grand Elder's warning. His voice reverberated in the air. Woo woo woo. All the wolves knelt down at the sound. It was a shocking sight. Boom. Everyone was shocked. Even the primordial demon wolves were bowing down to him? The Grand Ghost frowned and a divine artifact appeared in his hand. It was a third-grade divine artifact, the sea-splitting axe. Eat my axe. The Grand Ghost leaped up and his strength erupted. He appeared in the sky like a blazing sun. However, Lin Ling was even faster. Combining his talents, his dragon claws sliced through the ancestral power of the divine axe and reached the big ghost in the blink of an eye. Then, like a pair of pliers, his claws grabbed onto the big ghost's neck. Fast, extremely fast. It was the speed of 1,500 worlds. His strength was ferocious. It was the strength of 10,000 worlds. After grabbing the Grand Ghost's neck, the Grand Ghost could not resist at all. The two of them turned into shooting stars and slammed into the ground. Boom! The earth shook and the mountains shook. The trees in the distance collapsed like building blocks. The earth churned like waves, stretching out for thousands of miles. Then, a huge crater appeared. Looking carefully, the thing lying in the crater was none other than the big ghost. Dust was rolling around the pit. The man who looked like a demon god was none other than Lin Ling. Ah! This scene undoubtedly caused all the members of the Wood God clan to drop their jaws. This Lin Ling, he actually defeated the evil spirit? The evil spirit was a half-step to martial god realm expert. Moreover, he could summon the primordial demon wolves. Even the guardians were frightened to the point of sitting on the ground and wetting their pants. However, that was not the end of it. The primordial demon wolves, who had been too intimidated to move, turned red. Give me your flesh and blood. Inside the pit, Big Ghost was undoubtedly in an extremely miserable state, but he also let out a hysterical cry. Countless red lights floated out like ribbons and landed on the bodies of the Devil Essence wolves. Next, the Devil Essence wolves howled in pain. Their flesh and blood melted, and under the binding of the ribbons, they rushed into the deep pit. Densely packed, it was a ghastly sight. This frightened the Wood God clan. They clearly knew that the Great Ghost had absorbed the Devil Essence wolf, so its strength would definitely increase greatly. Brat, you're the first one to hurt me. Repent. Be surprised. You finally know what kind of existence you've provoked. Within the deep pit, countless pieces of flesh and blood were rolling about, as if they were a pile of meat paste. Lord Lin Ling, leave quickly. The first elder knew they were in trouble. After all, the evil spirit was a half-step martial god. As for the Wood God race's protector, his legs went soft. He pointed forward and was speechless. This was because he saw with his own eyes that a terrifying lump of meat was growing. It was emitting a soul-stirring power. This scared him so much that he didn't even have the strength to run away. This talent is not bad. However, in front of the huge mountain of meat, Lin Ling raised his head and looked at it with a smile in his eyes. The Great Ghost's talent was similar to the technique he had seen in the Rainbow World. It was absorbing the flesh and blood of demonic beasts to increase its strength. If it was in the past, Lin Ling would have been surprised by this talent. However, he was used to it now. He even felt that the great ghost's talent was slightly weaker than the experts in the rainbow world. It seems like I have to merge with the evil spirit jellyfish, Lin Ling muttered to himself. However, he shook his head. Instead, the tyrannical song sword appeared in his hand. Then he jumped up, held the sword with both hands, and stabbed it into the mountain of meat on the ground. The power of 10,000 realms erupted. The fusion of the 6 great Danshan's realms. 80% of the ancestral power was stimulated. This sword had truly come from the era of the deities. The Wood God clan's people's eyes were trembling. In their eyes, it was as if the most ancient deities had descended, holding a sword to drive away the evil spirit. Today, the surprise that Lin Ling brought them was too strong. However, was that all? Rumble. A deafening sound could be heard. The wriggling mountain of meat was shattered by the impact of the sword. Following this, under the astonished gaze of the crowd, the mountain of meat exploded and scattered across the ground. Everyone was stunned. The first elder's mouth opened wider, the protector's mouth opened wider, and everyone's mouth opened wider too. Was this the human they thought was a hypocritical and shameless human? Was this the Lin Ling they had looked down on? The powerful evil spirit was killed in a single blow. When facing a half-step martial god, they were so scared that they did not even have the strength to run away. How is he so powerful? Of course, the one who was most surprised was none other than Xueqi. She looked ahead blankly and saw the blue-robed youth walking towards her with a sword in hand. His long hair and clean robes were constantly magnified in her heart. Tears suddenly flowed out of her eyes. There were even more tears than before, and they kept dripping onto the ground. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She had thousands of words to say, but all she could think of was this one sentence. Previously, she had thought the protectors had frightened the wolves with their arrows. However, when the wolves arrived, the protectors were so scared that they lay on the ground. On the contrary, when Lin Ling appeared, the wolves bowed their heads. Previously, she had thought the protectors were the pride of the wood gods. However, when the evil spirits arrived, the protectors were so scared that they wet themselves. However, Lin Ling had killed the evil spirit with a single blow. The gap between her imagination and reality was too big. This reminded her of the first time she had met Lin Ling, when they had kidnapped Lin Ling with arrows. It turned out that Lin Ling had not attacked them seriously at that time. It seems like Tianjing and the others have taken action. Let's go back immediately. At this moment, Lin Ling, who was walking back, did not know what the crowd was thinking and did not have time to ponder over their thoughts. Okay. The first elder suppressed the shock in his heart and nodded immediately. If her previous reverence for Lin Ling came from Her Majesty the Queen, then now, this reverence came from her heart. Thank you. The protector stood up with a guilty look on his face and lowered his head as he spoke. He did not have the courage to look at Lin Ling, especially when he thought of how he had wanted to reward Lin Ling, only to be saved by Lin Ling. The guilt in his heart turned into shame. Lin Ling nodded. To be honest, he did not care about what had happened before. Me. At this moment, Xueqi also spoke. She looked at Lin Ling with eyes full of adoration. Let's go back. Unfortunately, Lin Ling didn't say anything and walked forward with large strides. Looking at Lin Ling's slender back, Xueqi's pretty face became gloomy. She finally knew why Lin Ling did not refute her before. It turned out that it was a kind of disdain. It was also because the two of them seemed to be from different worlds. Wrong. It's too late to make up for it now. At this moment, the first elder walked past her and said lightly. These words made Xueqi even more depressed. However, the first elder said, but now it's not too late. You can make up for it. Go back, Her Majesty needs us. Okay. Chapter 3784. Like a demon, like a god, descending from the sky. At that moment, Lin Ling was running toward the Wood God clan. He knew that since Big Ghost was here, Tianjing must be here too. He just did not know how many of them there were. If there were many experts like Tianjing, the battle would be troublesome. As for Big Ghost, his talent had reached grade 7. However, unlike Tianjing, Big Ghost's talent was not strong. His limit was grade 8. Lin Ling had fought several half-step martial god realm experts and was familiar with his strength. Hence, he knew from the beginning that he could kill Big Ghost. At that moment, the beautiful home of the Wood God clan was destroyed. Smoke billowed and the ancient trees collapsed. Their vitality was exhausted and they continued to wither. Looking around, a large number of experts were laughing and wreaking havoc. The Wood God clan is fucking beautiful. It's like a palace. Hee hee. Hee hee, if the young lord did not allow us to attack the Wood God clan, I would have ransacked this place. Now, I finally got what I wanted. Hee hee. Senior brother you, what are you doing? Why are you taking off your clothes? Hee hee. You don't know about this. The beauties of the Wood God clan were born from the wood spirit. Not only are they beautiful, but if you do that with them, you can also prolong your life. Hee hee. I think senior brother Tianjing is already prepared to do that. Hee hee. If that's the case, I'll take off my clothes too. Hee hee. The entire Wood God clan could only be described as a catastrophe. Although the Wood God clan had more people, their strength was related to plants. If the plants around them withered, their strength would be reduced by half. Hence, although there were fewer experts in these academies, they easily controlled the situation. The forest, it's all withered. Hee hee. As for the highest palace, the queen looked into the distance with a pained heart. There was no longer any vitality there. It was dead and she could hear the forest crying. Because the forest had withered, her strength was greatly reduced. Now, even a half-step martial god realm expert could be arrogant in front of her. Not far away, several figures were looking at Her Majesty with admiration. Especially, many of them stared at the queen's slender white legs and licked their lips. Some of them stared at the queen's jade feet and swallowed their saliva. Very beautiful and very pure. According to legend, the queen of the Wood God clan was a manifestation of the wood spirit of heaven and earth. She was one of the most flawless beings in the world. When they thought of their dirty hands touching Her Majesty the Queen, they felt a burst of excitement. The more impatient ones even started to take off their clothes. These experts all had firm hearts of martial arts and wouldn't be easily shaken. However, it also depended on who the other party was. They naturally wouldn't take a fancy to ordinary flowers, but Her Majesty the Queen was a different story. Wow, Monk Sanshio, you're also taking off your clothes? Aren't you a Buddhist? Cough, cough, everything is for martial arts, everything is for truth. Shameless. It's all because of the power in the queen's body. What was even more exaggerated was that even the bald monk was tempted. However, the queen ignored the pack of wolves and continued to look into the distance. Her beautiful eyes were filled with heartache. That's enough. At this moment, Tianjing, who had been silent, suddenly said coldly. Her words made everyone's expression change. They didn't dare to be presumptuous anymore. Some even started to put their clothes back on. Of course, there were also some who were unwilling and secretly resentful. These experts looked down on the other women of the Wood God clan, but they naturally couldn't bear to miss out on Her Majesty the Queen. Her Majesty the Queen isn't a human. She's a manifestation of the snow maple tree. She's pure and flawless. How dare you treat her like this? At this moment, Tianjing looked at the crowd coldly. Everyone was terrified and didn't dare to speak. However, Heavenly Crystal Peak's words that took a turn in the situation caused everyone to be stunned again. Even if you want to do it, it's not impossible. However, I must be the first. After Tianjing said coldly, she immediately took off her clothes. What a joke! Her Majesty the Queen had a pure wood spirit chi in her body. It was rare in the world. How could he miss out on it? If he absorbed it, even if he was seriously injured in a battle in the future, he would be able to recover quickly. He had been tempted by this for a long time. He even wanted to attack Her Majesty the Queen for a long time. However, the young master didn't allow him to. Hearing his words, the surrounding people were stunned. Then they burst into laughter. Then, one after another, they took off their clothes. Senior Tianjing. Hurry up. After you're done, it'll be our turn. Shut up. Shut up. How can Senior Brother Sky Crystal be a 3-second man? That's right. You're right, haha, I was wrong. Haha. In their hearts, Her Majesty the Queen was not only a peerless beauty, but also a treasure of heaven and earth. At this moment, Her Majesty the Queen finally turned her head to look at the crowd. In the depths of her eyes, there was a burst of anger. She had heard these people's words. She even knew that many humans had coveted her body. They were greedy and shameless. All humans were like this. If there was one, perhaps only the god's emissary was clean and flawless. If she wanted to give her body, it would be to this god. These filthy ants didn't even have the right to touch her. With the wood spirit chi in my body, I should be able to save these plant lives. Yes. She slowly walked forward barefooted. Her beautiful eyes were also looking into the distance. She wanted all the withered trees to regain their vitality. Although this was only a temporary measure and might even cause her death, she was willing to sacrifice herself because everything was worth it. However, at this moment, the sky suddenly became filled with a murderous aura. A figure actually faced the terrifying thunderstorm and shot over like a meteor. That figure was like a demon, but also like a god. It had a murderous aura, but also a supreme Buddha god aura. This shocked everyone, and they looked at the sky in disbelief. Rumble! The calamitous thunderstorm in the sky continued to fall as if it wanted to destroy that murderous aura. However, that murderous aura also had a masculine Buddha god aura. It was like a heavenly dragon protecting it, and it actually blocked the thunderstorm in the sky. This shocking scene caused all the battles of the wood gods to come to an end. They all looked up at the sky. That terrifying figure was getting closer and closer. Finally, it appeared above the palace and then crashed down like a meteor. Boom! The huge leaf that supported the palace shook violently, and the beautiful palace in the distance collapsed. As for Tianjing and the others, they were smashed by the meteor. 2 of them actually died and were smashed into meat patties. In just a moment, the figure that crashed down slowly stood up. A dazzling sword light appeared. When everyone reacted, that person had disappeared again. What a fast speed. It's above the 1,000 worlds. Everyone be careful. Watch out. Tianjing's expression changed drastically, and he anxiously reminded everyone. Unfortunately, it was a little too late. The sword light flashed. An expert was still quickly putting on his clothes. Then, he touched his neck and pointed in front of him in disbelief. Plop. He fell on his back. The sword of death flashed again. Why do I see my legs? Oh my god, am I killed? Another expert's upper body slid down, and he also exclaimed. The terrifying thing was that the cut was as smooth as a mirror, and there was no blood at all. Chapter 3785. A hero saving a damsel in distress. Who is this person? What a ruthless sword. The others reacted, unleashing their talents one after another, fighting with their lives on the line. However, they could not catch up to Lin Ling. Lin Ling's speed was too fast. Someone's talent was turtle shell divination, wanting to divine Lin Ling's whereabouts. I see him. A moment later, this person shouted angrily, full of confidence. Unfortunately, sword light flashed, and the previous sentence was also the last sentence of his life. Because he was killed by a sword, and even the turtle shell behind him was cut apart. Attack with full force. Everyone knew that things were troublesome. However, facing their attacks, Lin Ling turned a blind eye. Powerful ancestral power arrived. Lin Ling destroyed it with a sword. Playing with ancestral power, he had as much as 80%. What was there to be afraid of? The powerful power of talent arrived, and Lin Ling destroyed it with a single slash of his sword. Playing with talent? He had surpassed rank 10. What was there to be afraid of? Powerful realm energy arrived, and destroyed it with a sword again. Playing with realm energy? He had 6 stanchions and 10,000 realm energy fused. What was there to be afraid of? In the end, every time Lin Ling took a step forward, a life would fall. Killing a person in 10 steps, leaving no trace for 1,000 miles. Under the tree, powerhouses rushed up one after another, but in the end, they were scared of being killed, and no one dared to go up. The huge leaf platform was dyed red with blood. It's Lin Ling. It's definitely Lin Ling. His speed is too fast, we can't catch him at all. Tianjing looked at his allies dying one after another, and his eyes turned red. In fact, in his eyes, the dead powerhouses were all his junior brothers, and many of them were in the same class, friends who had fought for their lives. These people also treated him as a big brother. Therefore he was also responsible for them, but now they were all dead. Die, great Buddha flame! He roared, green flames rolling all over his body, and a Buddha formed by green flames rushed out. His ancestral power had reached as much as 70%. However, his innate talents were also on display. The green flame Buddhist kingdom had the spirit of, if I don't go to hell, who will? This was a talent that could force others to commit suicide. Therefore, there was evil in Buddhism. It could also be said that it was a stubborn and twisted Buddhism. Most importantly, he did not attack Lin Ling. Instead, he attacked the queen. This was besieging Wei to rescue Zhao. It had to be said that this person's scheming was indeed impressive. When the queen saw the ancient Buddha arrive, she was actually affected. A feeling of despair rose in her heart. It was as if she wanted to die with the forest. Therefore, she also gave up resisting. However, a voice was struggling in the depths of her heart. However, at the critical moment, a figure suddenly appeared and forcefully lifted her up before disappearing on the spot. Rumble! The huge Buddha immediately passed by where she had been standing and disappeared into the distance. When she looked up at the sky again, Lin Ling appeared there, hugging the queen. At that moment, the queen finally came to her senses. The thought of seeking death disappeared, but when she realized that Lin Ling was hugging her, she blushed instantly. She was the first queen of the wood gods. When had she ever been hugged by anyone? Moreover, she was being hugged by a handsome man, an emissary of the gods. Her delicate body was pressed against Lin Ling's body. She could feel the temperature of Lin Ling's body. This made her breathing heavy. She did not dare to look at Lin Ling and buried her little face in Lin Ling's chest. However, Lin Ling felt it more strongly than her. That was because he was not wearing any clothes after fusing with the innate talents. Moreover, the queen was wearing very little. Therefore, Lin Ling could clearly feel that the queen's 2 lumps of softness were pressed against him. They were slightly deformed. Lord Emissary, let me down. Finally, the queen said softly. Her voice was like the buzz of a mosquito. That was because she also felt that the softness on her body was deformed. It was very uncomfortable. All right. Lin Ling nodded solemnly, as if he was not someone who would take advantage of others. However, he was a man after all. With a beauty in his arms, it would be a lie to say that he did not feel anything. Therefore, he unexpectedly pinched the queen's perky buttocks. Then he was stunned. Did he actually do such a stupid thing? In fact, he was also captivated by the queen's beauty. Of course, this was also temporary. Compared to other men, she was much better. There's a trace of death aura there. Therefore, I removed it for you. Lin Ling hurriedly explained. In fact, this was an excuse. The queen's face was flushed red. She was full of feminine charm and actually nodded. She actually believed Lin Ling's words. Just like that, Lin Ling hugged the queen and descended from the sky. From afar, they looked like an immortal couple. The people of the wood gods were all dazzled. In fact, Lin Ling's appearance was too ferocious. With dragon claws on his body, his entire body was pitch black. Coupled with his handsome face, he looked like a demon god. Looking at the queen again, she was beautiful and flawless. She formed a sharp contrast with Lin Ling. One was righteous, one was evil. They were like a beast paired with a beauty. Of course, this was also a handsome beast. Good. Someone said excitedly. It was the Grand Elder. Next, the protectors and the others also spoke up one after another. This caused even more people of the wood gods to start cheering. Looking at the people of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance, they all looked as disgusted as if they had swallowed flies. Fuck, who was this guy? He actually beat them to it. After Lin Ling landed, he was somewhat reluctant to let go of the queen. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that there were too many people watching, he really wouldn't have let go. Leave these filthy and shameless humans to me. Yes. Then he also spoke coldly. His words completely provoked the people of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. They were filthy? You, Lin Ling, weren't any better, right? You were practically taking advantage of the situation. However, in the queen's heart, Lin Ling was clearly pure and flawless. She immediately nodded and said, Go, leave the people under the tree to us. Yes. Okay. Yes. Lin Ling immediately leaped up. At this moment, at the edge of the treetop, Tianjing had personally witnessed the scene just now, and he was fuming with anger. Previously, he had attacked the queen because he wanted to use this opportunity to distract Lin Ling. In the end, he had instead given Lin Ling a chance to save the damsel in distress. Now, by the looks of it, the flawless queen was clearly a little moved by Lin Ling. Moreover, Lin Ling was so shameless. He actually had the nerve to call them filthy and shameless humans? Fury! It was as if the most precious thing in Tianjing's life had been snatched away. He was so angry that he wanted nothing more than to kill Lin Ling. However, at this moment, Lin Ling had already arrived, and he slowly descended on the tree leaves. A dense murderous aura also quietly spread out. The two of them looked at each other, killing intent in their eyes. If they didn't kill the other, they wouldn't be human. Whoosh! The ancient forest suddenly became oppressive. At the bottom of the tree, no one was fighting. They all looked up at the sky, knowing that the battle at the treetop would decide everything today. The people of the Wood God tribe all clenched their fists. They knew that they had misunderstood Lin Ling. And now, in this great calamity of the Wood God tribe, the only person who could save them was that mysterious man. As for the people of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance, their eyes were narrowed, and cold smiles tugged at the corners of their lips. Chapter 3786. Great Buddha! Lin Ling, I didn't expect you to still be here. Finally, a voice broke the tranquil atmosphere. It was Sky Crystal. What was surprising was that he had regained his composure, as if everything was under his control. I have to say that you're really gutsy. You destroyed our efforts in the Fire God tribe, yet you didn't run away. Don't you know that this matter has already angered the young master? Even if I spare you this time, in the 9 prefectures, in the final world, young master will kill you. Tianjing said again. These words caused the expressions of the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance to change drastically. They finally knew who Lin Ling was. That guy was actually the one who destroyed the foundation of the Fire God clan? They could be said to hate this person to the bone. They originally thought that this person would have fled, but in the end, he didn't flee. Instead, he came to ruin their plans, as expected of a jinx. Compared to their anger, the people of the Wood God clan were greatly shocked. They looked at Lin Ling with even more admiration. Lin Ling was like an emissary sent down by the heavens to save them. At that moment, Lin Ling smiled. Just as he was about to speak, Tianjing interrupted Lin Ling and said again, I have to say that you are really stupid. Don't you know how many more years you can live after running away? If he came back, wouldn't he be courting death? In fact, if it wasn't for the young master forbidding me from touching you, I would have chased you down long ago. The young master once said that you have an agreement with a disciple of a certain great character in the final world. That's why I let you off so easily. Lin Ling suddenly sneered. That agreement should be the battle between him and Longyang. He didn't expect that this battle would be known by so many people. He was just about to speak. But Heaven Crystal interrupted Lin Ling a second time. Early-stage martial progenitor realm, combining your talent with an unknown martial art. I have to say, I'm quite curious about your martial art. Why don't you tell me where it came from? Being interrupted repeatedly, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He felt that something was wrong. Then, he suddenly thought of something. Are you done nagging? Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You're actually afraid of me, aren't you? Lin Ling smiled and finally said calmly. Hearing this, Tianjing's eyes quietly changed, but she smiled and said, scared? What a joke. If I'm not wrong, you should be waiting for another person. I didn't expect that the once arrogant you would be afraid today. Lin Ling gave tit for tat. Nonsense. But Heaven Crystal was like a cat that had its tail stepped on. I'm talking nonsense? Lin Ling shook his head in disdain. You should be waiting for someone called Big Ghost, right? Because you only have the confidence to defeat me if the two of you work together. What? Tianjing's expression changed drastically because Lin Ling was right. He was indeed somewhat afraid of Lin Ling, because Lin Ling's speed was too fast. However, he didn't expect Lin Ling to know his thoughts. However, since he was seen through, Tianjing might as well admit it. Yes, I'm indeed stalling for time. According to my estimation, Big Ghost will be here soon. His talent is definitely beyond your imagination. When the two of us work together, you won't be able to escape. Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled. He didn't intend to waste any more time and merged his talents again. But at the same time, he said, his talent allows him to devour the flesh and blood of monsters to increase his overall strength, right? As soon as he said that, Tianjing was thunderstruck again. However, you don't have to wait anymore because he's already dead. He was killed by me. Lin Ling said word by word. His words were like 3 consecutive thunderbolts, blasting Tianjing 3 steps back. However, at this time, Lin Ling had already made his move. The tyrannical song sword appeared, and this time, he also merged the devil jellyfish's talent. One should know that when he defeated Big Ghost, he did not merge the devil jellyfish. He felt that the merging of the 3 talents was enough. However, facing Tianjing, it was not enough because Tianjing's cultivation level and talent were extraordinary. Rumble! A suffocating aura spread out from Lin Ling's body, and Lin Ling immediately attacked. The sword was majestic. Tianjing also knew that Big Ghost would not come again. This meant that he would have to face Lin Ling alone. Therefore, he also went all out. A battle between the peak of the half-step to martial god realm had officially begun. At the bottom of the tree, countless people clenched their fists and cheered for their respective flags. Looking at the battle at the top of the tree, Tianjing saw Lin Ling charging at him. He knew that he couldn't catch up with Lin Ling's speed, so he decided to stay put. Great Buddha! He roared, and his body grew in size, turning into a huge and fat Buddha. This Buddha had a benevolent face, and his ears were very long, like 2 pendants. He was 100 meters tall, and he said in a Buddhist voice, "Merciful Buddha." Endless green flames appeared behind his head, and they bloomed like Buddha's light. This talent began to affect his opponent, making him put down his knife and become a Buddha. When the green flames surged toward Lin Ling also had a strange feeling, as if he was going to give up his life and save the world. This kind of Buddha was somewhat twisted. There was nothing wrong with saving the world, but why did he have to kill people? Could he not become a Buddha if he did not die? Get lost. The heavenly dragon protection light appeared in Lin Ling's body, and he also unleashed the Buddha's power to resist the evil Buddha intent. What? Tianjing's expression changed slightly. He did not expect Lin Ling to possess pure Buddha's power, but he sneered, "Lin Ling, is that all you've got?" His talent was not only the Buddha's power, but he also possessed the fire Tao. Great Buddha flames. Following that, waves of green flame seemed to be formless and colorless as they poured into Lin Ling's body, and actually wanted to purify Lin Ling. This green flame was extremely extraordinary, making Lin Ling's mind raise an image. Dipankara. This seemed to be the Buddha Dipankara's wisp of flame. However, after this wisp of flame invaded, it encountered the hair-sized flame in Lin Ling's dantian, and it was instantly extinguished. Flame of the human monarch. Clearly, when the Dipankara Great Buddha flames encountered the human monarch's flame, its level could not compare at all. How could a tiny little lamp's flame compare to the world's first flame? In terms of saving all living beings, the Great Buddha flames could not compare at all. Because after the human monarch's flame was born, who knew how many people it had saved? You're not afraid of my Great Buddha flames? That benevolent face of the Great Buddha actually revealed a ferocious look at this moment. However, Lin Ling had already arrived in front of him and slashed down with his sword with all his might. Great Buddha Ten Dhamma. Seeing this, the Great Buddha roared, and his huge palms were like 2 palm leaf fans as they slammed together. A rumbling sound rang out, and the earth quaked and the mountains shook, as if gods had collided. Only to see that the huge Buddha's palm actually clamped down on Lin Ling's sword. When the 2 palms collided with the large sword, a terrifying shock wave also swept out in all directions. In the distance, the withered trees began to fall down in large patches. Looking at the battle at the top of the tree, the scene was incomparably spectacular, as if it was a battle between a devil and a Buddha. Lin Ling slashed down with his sword, but it was blocked by the Great Buddha's palms. Lin Ling, is that all you've got? The Great Buddha once again revealed a sneer, and it was even more like a devil Buddha. Is that so? Chapter 3787. Subduing the Wood Gods. He had already fused his 4 great talents, the realm-swallowing beast, the double dragon god, and the devil jellyfish. In terms of level, he had already reached the 14th grade. His defense, attack, and speed were all at their peak. in addition to the fusion of the 6 dantians and the tyrannical song sword. But such a terrifying sword was still blocked. So weak. I haven't even used my full strength and you can't hurt me. What if I use my full strength? Tianjing said disdainfully again. You think you're the only one who hasn't used your full strength? Lin Ling raised his head. His long hair was dancing wildly. He had decided that it was time to use another trump card. Currently, he still had the calamity-destroying Sun Bao, the Step of Wisdom, and Mini Kunlun. These methods were not to be underestimated. So, Lin Ling wanted to see how long Tianjing could block it. Calamity-destroying Sun. Lin Ling immediately shouted. But before he could finish, there was a cracking sound in front of him. The gigantic Buddha was still sneering, but his smile had quietly frozen. His palms, which were like palms, were cracked, and so were his plump body. Boom! Finally it exploded. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. Then he smiled bitterly. Tianjing was defeated and completely turned into ashes. Obviously, he couldn't block the last sword at all. Originally, Lin Ling had wanted to use his final trump card. Unfortunately, Tianjing did not have the qualifications to see that trump card. Ironically, Tianjing said that he hadn't used his full strength. Obviously, he was just trying to show off. Shaking his head, Lin Ling put away his sword and stood up. His body started to return to normal. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He sneered and said, I forgot to tell you. I'm here for the fire illusion. If Tianjing was still alive, he would feel wronged. Because Lin Ling wanted to kill him for a person he met by chance? Lunatic. At this moment, everyone was looking at the blue-robed young man on the top of the tree. The people of the wood gods were laughing excitedly. But as they laughed, tears flowed out of their eyes. Dead. Everything was over. Senior brother Tianjing is dead. Heavens! Run! As for the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance, they started to panic. Following this, they started to flee in all directions. However, outside the forest, 3 evil spirits were waiting for them and began to devour them in a frenzy. Of course, there were still many of them, so many of them managed to escape. Lin Ling paid no attention to this because he knew that there would be a time to catch them all in one fell swoop. Lord Envoy. Looking at the awe-inspiring Lin Ling, the Queen of the Wood Gods was the first to kneel. Next, everyone knelt down. At this moment, they were willing to submit to Lin Ling. He was the first human to make the wood gods submit to him. Because in their hearts, Lin Ling was arranged by the heavens to save them. Lin Ling smiled faintly. He didn't care about these people's worship. Suddenly, he looked at the ancient forest in the distance and released countless evil spirit jellyfish. These evil spirit jellyfish rushed into the ground and began to devour the deathly aura in a frenzy. This caused the originally lifeless forest to gradually regain its vitality. It had to be said that although there was a lot of deathly aura this time, Lin Ling could still sense that compared to the last time, the deathly aura this time lacked a kind of dominance. The resistance wasn't fierce at all. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and understood. The deathly aura last time probably came from the powerful cultivator in the land of eternal rest, Wanyan Shiji. This time, it came from Wanyan Bupo. Wanyan Bupo's strength naturally couldn't compare to his father's. We've won today's battle. Next, Lin Ling looked at everyone, and his voice boomed out like thunder. Everyone fell silent. However, the battle isn't over. Those evil spirits came from outside, but they want to destroy your home and do whatever they want here. Do you want to see your home destroyed? Do you want to see your family and friends die in their hands? Do you think the wood gods are livestock that can be slaughtered by others? Lin Ling's words ignited the fighting spirit in everyone's hearts. No one wanted to be oppressed. No one wanted to live happily here forever. Lord Messenger, what do you think we should do? We'll follow you. Her Majesty the Queen looked at Lin Ling with admiration and shouted, Unite the 3 races, destroy the evil spirits, and take back our home. Lin Ling looked into the distance and said calmly, Take back our home. Take back our home. Everyone shouted excitedly. They had always lacked a true leader, and they also lacked a belief and a totem. However, Lin Ling appeared and became their totem. This was because Lin Ling was their Lord Messenger. Lin Ling revealed a smile when he saw everyone nodding. He wasn't surprised by this scene at all. Now that the wood gods and fire gods had agreed, only the stone gods were left. Lord Messenger, you've worked hard. At this time, the queen flew up and bowed slightly to Lin Ling. However, her face was a little flushed. Apparently, she was thinking about what happened before. Lin Ling was the same. He felt his body heating up. The queen was too charming. He couldn't help but lower his head quietly. However, what entered his eyes was the queen's bare feet. Those bare feet could be called exquisite works of art. This made Lin Ling's body even hotter. He didn't dare to look anymore and immediately looked up. Unfortunately, what he saw when he looked up was too much for Lin Ling. All right, there's no time to lose. I'll go to the stone gods now. Not daring to stay any longer, Lin Ling left with a red face. Seeing Lin Ling's appearance, the queen's face turned even redder. She whispered, Lord Messenger, I still have some death aura on me. I wonder when you can help me get rid of it? Lin Ling hurriedly flew even faster. This was because he knew that if he stayed any longer, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to hold back. Moreover, he also knew that with the death aura in the forest being expelled, the queen's strength was actually stronger than his. How could there be any death aura on her body? Obviously, that was a hint. Meanwhile, while Lin Ling was heading to the fire gods, the remaining members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance had all fled back. Someone told them everything that had happened. A cold voice immediately sounded from the tombstone on the ground. You're saying that it's Lin Ling again. Whoosh! The earth rumbled as Wanyan Bupo walked out coldly. This time, he couldn't hold back anymore. Lin Ling had destroyed the death aura they had left in the fire gods. Now, he had even saved the wood gods and killed Tianjing and the others. Was he going to confront them head-on? One had to realize that if it weren't for the fact that he had given face to martial god Wentian and Lin Ling, he would have already killed him. It was precisely because he knew that if he killed Lin Ling, he would be ruining the battle between Lin Ling and Longyang. Thus, he had allowed Lin Ling to live for another 3 years. After that battle ended, he would make his move. Young master, what should we do now? Lin Ling is already riding on our heads. Are we going to let him do whatever he wants? Chapter 3788. Just a few pots of wine was enough. Kill him, don't show any mercy. Wanyan Bupo finally made up his mind. He then entered the coffin again. Wait until my talent increases. If Lin Ling is still in the demon forest, I'll kill him myself. Hearing his words, everyone laughed. Wanyan Bupo's talent was extremely terrifying. He was ranked in the top 300 on the divine list stairway to heaven. That was because he had an 8th grade ultimate desolate body. This time, he had been cultivating in the demon forest for a long time. He had already accumulated a lot of energy needed to break through his innate talent. If he reached the 9th stage, the demonic forest would definitely move for him. However, at this moment, Lin Ling clearly knew that the final battle was coming. However, since he had chosen to stay, he would definitely massacre the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. He didn't care about Wanyan Bupo or Wanyan Epics. He only knew that this place of eternal rest dared to provoke him. Lin Ling. After arriving at the Stone City and seeing the bustling city, Lin Ling felt a bit helpless. He never thought that this would be the safest place among the 3 clans. This was because the Stone God tribe had simple and honest personalities, and they didn't know how to change sides. If the Heaven-Crushing Alliance dared to provoke them, they would definitely fight to the death. Thus, the Heaven-Crushing Alliance was also very smart. They planned to deal with the other 2 tribes first before making a move against the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. After smoothly entering the city, Lin Ling first found Gu Yadong, and this guy was not difficult to find. He was still in the same restaurant. Hey Lin Ling, you're back. When Gu Yadong saw Lin Ling, he was extremely surprised. Lin Ling immediately threw out a jug of wine. The moment this jug of wine appeared, Gu Yadong was undoubtedly overjoyed. Of course, Lin Ling didn't waste any time and directly stated his intentions. What? You want to see our patriarch? Gu Yadong was very surprised by Lin Ling's idea, but he also said with difficulty, our patriarch is very fierce and extremely difficult to talk to. Moreover, the patriarch's surroundings are heavily guarded, and all of them are stronger than you. I'm afraid you won't be able to get close to him. What is their strength? Lin Ling frowned. Although he had the talent of the world-swallowing beast, he still needed to use it in front of the leader to convince the rock god race. In human terms, they are all half-step to martial god realm experts. Gu Yedong said immediately. Lin Ling sucked in a cold breath. He hadn't thought that the stone god tribe would be the most powerful of the three tribes. However, he soon realized that this wasn't because the stone god tribe was the most powerful of the three tribes. Instead, it was because the powerful techniques of the other two tribes were easily countered by the heaven-crushing alliance. For example, the wood god clan's strength came from the forest, but as long as the forest was destroyed, the strength of the wood god clan would be greatly reduced. As for the fire god race, they were flames. Their totem, the human king flame, had always been in a deep slumber. As for the stone god tribe, they were naturally born with great strength. Coupled with their ability to forge weapons, their combat prowess wouldn't be easily defeated by the heaven-crushing alliance. Let's give it a try. But since he was already here, how could Lin Ling back off so easily? Let me say this first. If I fail and get thrown out of here, don't blame me. Gu Yedong pondered for a moment, and then nodded. He was quite a loyal person. In order to help Lin Ling, he actually really brought Lin Ling to see the leader of the stone god tribe. The tribe leader lived in a strange fortress. It was strange because it was very short, only about 1.5 meters tall. However, it was also very grand, and it occupied a vast area. Moreover, there were many dwarves in the surroundings, and they were all extremely powerful. They didn't look tall, but Lin Ling felt like they were giants. Moreover, when they saw Lin Ling, the members of the stone god tribe all shouted in a dignified manner. Human! A powerful aura soared into the sky, giving Lin Ling a fright. This was because he discovered that these people weren't much weaker than Tianjing. More importantly, there were so many of them. You're not allowed to come near here. Another dignified voice sounded. The members of the stone god tribe were holding axes and hammers, and they walked over like dwarves. Although the stone god tribe didn't really hate humans, this was the place where their tribe leader lived, so they naturally wouldn't allow humans to come near so easily. He's here to see the tribe leader. Gu Yedong hurriedly opened his mouth and performed a warrior's salute. See the tribe leader? The guards all laughed. It was a sneer. Could a human meet the tribe leader so easily? This was obviously impossible. I'll give you a breath's time. Scram, otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Finally, a stone god dwarf with a white beard said coldly. This person's strength also gave Lin Ling a sense of pressure, letting Lin Ling know that if he wanted to see the tribe leader, he was afraid that a fierce battle would be inevitable. As for Gu Yedong, he had already guessed it. If Lin Ling wasn't his good friend, he wouldn't even bring Lin Ling here because he knew that Lin Ling had no hope of seeing the tribe leader. What a fragrant wine. Gu Yedong, where did you get this wine? Why is it so fragrant? I've never smelled it before. However, at this moment, the white-bearded dwarf suddenly frowned and said in surprise. That wine was given to Gu Yedong by Lin Ling. Gu Yedong suddenly froze and threw the wine jug in his hand over. After the white-bearded dwarf caught it, he took a big gulp and suddenly became overjoyed. Good wine, it's stronger than what we brewed. Let me try a sip. Scram. Scram, I haven't drunk enough yet. Scram. Don't fight, one person each. Scram. Next, something happened that made Lin Ling stunned. These dwarf-like guards actually crazily snatched the wine and even fought. This made Lin Ling look at Gu Yedong but found that Gu Yedong was used to it and showed a painful look. Obviously, he was also reluctant to part with the wine. This scene undoubtedly made Lin Ling stunned for a long time. In the end, Lin Ling finally had to speak. Actually, this wine was given to Gu Yedong by me, and I still have a lot. Scram. As soon as he said that, everyone stopped fighting and stared at Lin Ling with wide eyes and beards. Next, the leading white-bearded dwarf ran over, but although he was short, his weight could not be underestimated. He actually made the ground shake, and footprints were left on the hard stones on the ground. This momentum was very terrifying, like a giant from the era of gods. Lin Ling quietly became dignified, ready to burst out with all his strength. However, the white-bearded dwarf stopped in front of Lin Ling and immediately said, Friend, that wine, do you still have it? Please give me a jug too. Gu Yadu, you're too smart. Next, the others also ran over and politely asked for wine to drink. It felt like children surrounding Lin Ling and asking for candy. Of course, if you could throw away their thick beards, they were indeed like children. Lin Ling was a person who liked wine. For this experience, he had already prepared a lot of wine, so he immediately took it out. Good wine, good wine. Everyone laughed heartily as they gulped down mouthfuls of wine from the jugs in their hands. It was a joyous scene. Chapter 3789. Subdue the Stone God Clan. This brother. Did you want to see the patriarch before? No problem. I'll go find him for you. After the white-bearded dwarf drank a few mouthfuls, he looked at Lin Ling with a smile. His way of addressing Lin Ling had changed. Before he called him friend, but now he called him brother. Lin Ling could not help but roll his eyes. He thought that there would be a great battle. In the end, who would have thought that a few pots of wine would finish off these powerhouses? Not long after, a red-bearded dwarf also ran out. His footsteps were earth-shattering. This must be the tribe leader. His strength was also at the martial god realm, and his aura was extremely domineering. Wine? Haven't I tasted it before? Come on, come on. He shouted as he ran. In the end, Lin Ling also threw a jug of wine over, and immediately gained the patriarch's friendship. This clan leader who was addicted to alcohol even declared that Lin Ling would always be a guest of the Stone God clan, and he could even marry any woman of the Stone God clan. Regarding this, Lin Ling immediately declined. The truth was that the Stone God race's woman was short and fat. She was simply not something that Lin Ling could handle. To tell you the truth. Following that, Lin Ling also revealed the purpose of his visit. But when this was brought up, everyone immediately fell silent. They obviously knew about the evil spirits and knew that the leader of the evil spirits was an extremely powerful existence. It was just that he had left. Lin Ling had expected their fear. He hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "In truth, I am a realm-swallowing beast." After he finished speaking, he immediately displayed the talent of the realm-swallowing beast. However, Lin Ling was not so sure. Although the totem of the Stone God race was the realm-swallowing beast, it was still the realm-swallowing beast. But the world-swallowing beast had swallowed countless Stone God race elders, so Lin Ling could not guarantee that the Stone God race would approve of him. They might even kill him to avenge the ancestors. However, after he revealed the body of the realm-swallowing beast, things had gone much smoother than he had imagined. Everyone from the Stone God clan knelt down, raised their hands to the sky and kowtowed. "Swallow, don't swallow me, don't swallow me." Looking at their expressions, it was not reverence, but fear. This kind of fear came from the bottom of his heart, as if it came from the Stone God clan's millions of years of history. When Lin Ling saw that everyone was kneeling, he was speechless for a while. He raised his hand and wanted everyone to stand up. "Don't swallow me." However, when he saw Lin Ling wave his hand, the patriarch immediately retreated like a mouse that had encountered a cat. Lin Ling did not know that in their childhood memories, Devour was a great enemy that they could never surpass. Their ancestors had taught them that if they met Devour, they could only submit to it. Only then would they not be exterminated. That was why they had such a huge reaction. Of course, the giant ghost had once told Lin Ling that the reason why Devour didn't continue to swallow the Stone God clan was that these dwarves were really not tasty. This was not the reason why they had submitted to Devour. Things had progressed so smoothly that even Lin Ling felt that it was very surreal. Thus he asked tentatively, "Then what about the matter I mentioned before?" Yes, we'll go immediately." The patriarch did not even dare to raise his head, and he immediately agreed. When he saw his reaction, Lin Ling was finally certain that the Stone God clan had also agreed to his summons. Right now, all three clans had agreed to his summons. If these ancient clans joined forces, they would be extremely terrifying. Then, it was time to set off for the headquarters of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. That night, Lin Ling settled down in the Stone God clan. Then, he used the evil ghost jellyfish to arrange his time. The next day, Lin Ling set off toward the headquarters of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. As for the three clans behind him, they also followed behind him in a grand manner. The demonic forest was clearly going to be completely shaken today. A great battle that had been suppressed for 100 years had finally begun. However, the headquarters of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance was still deathly silent. However, the elites here had also rarely left during this period of time. This was mainly because the god of slaughter, Lin Ling, had appeared in the forest. If they went out, they would be easily killed. Thus, they were all in a state of panic, and most of them chose to hide. In fact, some of the more cowardly ones had already quietly left the heaven-crushing alliance. This was because, in the end, they were still students of the academy. They were not fugitives. They had only stayed because they had heard that there was something to be gained here. Young master, more and more people are leaving. A large number of elites stood in front of the tombstone, and they all wore grave expressions as they spoke. These people were clearly the true backbone of the heaven-crushing alliance, and they would not easily leave the heaven-crushing alliance. The ground was still deathly silent, and it was as if a dead person was really buried here. However, a low voice soon sounded. I'm currently in seclusion. If anyone tries to escape, I'll kill them without mercy. Understood. Everyone nodded. However, one of the elite said coldly, Young master, if this continues, the prestige of our heaven-crushing alliance will be completely destroyed. This is because everyone is hiding here, and they don't dare to leave. You guys are truly a bunch of trash. Although Lin Ling is powerful, he's still a single person. There are so many of you, and you're all afraid of him. Chapter 3790. A person was coming. Shut up. However, an angry roar came from the ground. Lin Ling's talent overlay is powerful, but it can't exert the power of the talent at all. It can only rely on the level of the talent to crush the opponent. When I reach the 9th grade talent, I can crush him with one finger. His words were filled with boundless confidence. Upon hearing this, everyone was stunned. Following that, they began to laugh. This was because a 9th grade ultimate desolate body was indeed very rare. If the young master successfully advanced, defeating Lin Ling would not be difficult at all. Furthermore, even if I have an 8th grade ultimate desolate body, I still have the confidence to defeat him. Wan Yen Bupo added. But at this moment, someone suddenly rushed over crazily, shouting as he ran. Oh no, Lin Ling is coming. As he spoke, he panicked and fell to the ground with a plop, eating a mouthful of dirt. Lin Ling, you're here? Who gave him the guts? Everyone was stunned. It was undeniable that Lin Ling was indeed powerful, but this was their base. Disregarding everything else, Lin Ling alone wouldn't be able to stop all of them if they joined hands. Who did he come with? Beneath the ground, Wan Yen Bupo let out a sinister voice. What we saw was the same person. However, his strength is extremely powerful. Peak martial ancestors are unable to stop him at all. Furthermore, his Jie Yuan seems to be endless. Even after unleashing all kinds of killing moves, he is still not exhausted. The man said anxiously as he lay on the ground and spat out the dirt in his mouth. Alone? Everyone's eyes narrowed. Is this guy stupid? He dares to come to our base alone. Is there something wrong with his head because of anger? Following that, the experts all laughed coldly. It's good that he's here. I originally wanted to look for him in the demon forest, which would take a lot of effort. I didn't expect that he would take the initiative to come to me. Well, it's time to settle the grudge between us. Beneath the ground, a terrifying aura of death spread out and turned into a ferocious ghost head in front of the tombstone. Pass down my command. All members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance, return and capture Lin Ling, don't let him escape. I'll come out of seclusion immediately and kill him. The ghost head let out a cold shout, causing everyone to smile malevolently. Rumble. However, with a loud boom, a large number of figures were sent flying like kites, smashing into the ground. Some died on the spot, while others spat out large mouthfuls of blood. There's no need to capture him. I'll do it myself. When everyone looked over, a figure was already slowly walking over from the ancient land of dead silence. The dead spirits in the surroundings tried to get close, but they were all swept away by this person. And wherever he passed, he would rub it against the ground. This also caused all of the members of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance to gather around the tomb. Their eyes were filled with wariness as they gazed at the newcomers. Lin Ling, who was ranked 430th on the divine ranking, was here. He was here to challenge Wan Yen Bu Pa, who was ranked 300th on the god list. This crappy place is really hard to find. His footsteps finally stopped, and the youth looked at everyone with a cold smile. Lin Ling, I didn't think that you're Lin Ling. A piece of trash like you dares to challenge martial god Wen Tian? What a fool's dream. However, in the battle 3 years later, you won't be able to escape death. Since that's the case, why don't you die here first? It's better than embarrassing yourself 3 years later. The sinister ghost head on the tombstone sneered coldly. Hearing this, Lin Ling's lips curled into a cold smile. At this moment, more and more elites had gathered around. Everyone had returned. They were all glaring at Lin Ling, their bodies emitting a strong murderous aura. This was because to a cultivator, there was nothing more than friend and foe. Once it was related to benefits, then they were enemies. Lin Ling, who had obviously destroyed their interests, was their great enemy. You're bold, young master. Let's kill him. Young master. Lin Ling, I know you're powerful, but you're still too naive. Didn't the world teach you that? If you want to become stronger, you won't be able to do it alone. You must have connections and support, unless you have the strength to dominate everything. Stop talking nonsense with him. Kill him. Kill him. The cultivators finally unleashed their murderous intents, unleashing their talents. The world is bustling, and everyone comes for benefits. The world is bustling, and everyone goes for benefits. This was the reason why they wanted to kill Lin Ling. Apart from that, there was another important reason, which was jealousy. Lin Ling, who was only a descendant, had rapidly risen from the 400th rank of the god ranking, which was enough to threaten their position. How could they not be jealous? Although they had been cultivating for a long time, they were only a bunch of young cultivators. None of them would want someone to ride on their head and make them envious. Therefore, if someone was doing that, they would kill him if they had the chance. And now it was their chance. There were many of them, some of whom were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm, and many of whom were half-step martial gods. However, their talents were all below the 7th grade. However, having a large number of people was also a terrifying thing. It was even to the extent that they felt that even martial gods might perish here. Upon seeing the elites of the heaven-crushing alliance move into action, the ghost head floating above the tombstone chuckled coldly, and said, Lin Ling, although I really want to attack you myself, I'm not like the others. Sometimes, I believe in using the simplest method to deal with someone. Thus, don't expect me to fight you one-on-one. Lin Ling nodded when he heard this. He had a feeling that Wan Yanbu Pe must have other reasons for not attacking. Moreover, Wan Yanbu Pe was able to make the cultivators of the final world follow him, which meant that he had the guts to do great things. At least, he wouldn't choose to fight him alone out of anger. It was obvious that he cared about the big picture. Before I die, I'd like to remind you that Longyang is very powerful. Not long ago, more than 20 academies participated in the Battle of the Three Divine Halls. She obtained a good ranking. You won't be able to compete with her. Wan Yanbu said. Thank you for the reminder. Lin Ling nodded again. A flagon of wine appeared in his hand. He took a sip and said, I have to say that I agree with your thoughts. In the final world, if you want to become stronger, you can't do it alone. You have to have connections and support. Unless you have the strength to dominate everything. So, you've realized this before you die? Wan Yanbu suddenly laughed. Lin Ling shook his head when he heard this. He finally looked up at the sky. In the sky, the ancient trees still blocked the sun, causing the place to be as gloomy as before. However, this time, there were changes in the giant ancient trees. They had awakened one by one, as if they were ancient tree giants. Rumble! The ground rumbled as if the rocks that had been buried for thousands of years had come to life. Then, the earth was dug up and they slowly crawled out. Most importantly, there were so many of them that they covered the entire mountain.